Good evening. Mel, you got Mel? Can you lead for us, please? All right. We start this meeting tonight with the notice of meeting for the board review. So will everyone rise and join the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. One nation. And it is a little odd tonight because the committee for the board review is actually Julie, Darlene, and myself. So it's kind of goofy, but anyway, so we're all here in attendance. The status of the assessment roll, it's not ready. Happens every year about this time, but it will be ready. Open book will be held for examination from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on July 18th here in this room. So if you want to put that date on your calendar, if you want to look at your open book review, that's the day. So I need a motion to adjourn.
We're not going to adjourn.
To August
7th.
At 10:30. 10:30 to 12:30. Second by Julie.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, very good. That was quick. So the time is what, 6:01. All right. So now we're on to our regular village board meeting. And we have to do it twice. So we'll call the meeting to order. Will everyone rise again? And say the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance. And let the record show that Matt Lancaster is running late because he was on a fire call, but he's on his way. So when he comes, he'll just be present. Other than that, the entire board is here in attendance. Any correspondence, communications from board or staff? Mark?
Yeah, I just got something, reference to, Darboy Community Park. Last month, I think the staff, we used promoted some internally for the supervisor there, and we had some ongoing issues with, over the weekend. There continues to be piles of paper towel piled up in the men's bathroom there, just from, I don't know, kids doing it, whatever, and soap dispenser ripped off the wall again, and maybe we need to discontinue paper towels and go to an air dryer. And air dryer, that would eliminate all the mess of paper towels. But the one that's more concerning is cutting of grass around the Darboy community pond. For the last several years, we had several really nice maple trees planted with mulch on around the east side and north side of that pond, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people walking this pond every day. This is a beautiful park, and we have not been cutting the grass around the pond, around the trees that we have mulch on, and even around some benches. And it got so bad here 2 weeks ago that private residences were taking their own lawnmowers, coming around our own benches because we were not cutting the grass no more over there. So I am willing to walk with the DPW group, the DNR, or whoever around that pond and decide what should we be cutting, because in the last several years we maintained it very nice. This year we're not maintaining it, and I have pictures of it where it's 1 to 2 feet high now of grass and clover, not wildflowers, it's just grass and clover around our nicely planted trees with mulch. And a lot of people are complaining about it, and I'd like to get that fixed if all possible. If not, I want to get an answer from the DNR, and I like to walk that trail with the DNR and DPW to make sure it's being done correctly, because we're having people from Parker Farms residential bringing their lawnmowers down and cutting around our benches, which is pretty embarrassing for our and it's a safety hazard, and we need to get it fixed. And that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
So if I may,
Okay.
we will meet with you and go around and look at some of that area, some of those areas are part of the prairie grass that needs to be cleaned. But, some of those areas we can also address, so if we should do that.
So in the last couple of years, we were fighting for that.
Correct. And that's not recommended by the consultant.
Okay, yeah.
And we also had complaints from people that we were cutting the prairie grass. So that was about a year ago. They
Yeah, like-
complained about the prairie grass while looking cut.
You could see where the sunflowers and prairie grasses versus just the regular high grass and dandelion.
Well,
Yeah,
you
so-
guys go and look at
I
it.
would like to take a walk,
Together.
and that's that's fine, I'm just trying to tease everyone around, because I know I live right there, so everyone's like. Asking me, so, okay, thank you very much.
I'll reach out to you and we'll get from there.
Yeah,
No, Mark, I strongly recommend them to call, please. I've never gotten a call on the tall grass or the,
wait, well, Lance and Scott and Mark and Russ, remember them?
Scott Bus called me, I talked to him.
Yeah.
and Yes, but that was
Only,
I contacted him about the bench and then he discussed that with me, yes.
okay,
But yeah, that was the only call I had. Other than that, I've had more calls than people that were concerned about us cutting the prairie.
oh,
But yeah, let's meet out there.
yeah, I mean, anytime.
Yep.
Thank you much.
Any other correspondence, communications, Matt?
Right,
That's, we got your secretary reported, right, Jared? No, duty calls. Any other comments or correspondence? Okay. You have the minutes of the May 7th meeting before you. What's your pleasure? Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? Second by Darlene. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, vote your ballot. Let the record show the motions carried unanimously. You have the minutes of the May 14th meeting before you. What's your pleasure? Motion by Mike, second by
I'll second it.
Mark, to approve the minutes of the May 14th meeting. Any additions or corrections? Vote your ballot. Let the record show the motions carried unanimously. All right, public comments. Did you guys want to speak now or do you want to wait until it comes up? Yeah.
No, I want to go right before the.
Right before it comes up, you'd rather do that. Do we have anybody on our list for public comments? One second, I gotta get my list. It's coming. Thank you. Okay, Dwayne? Do you want to speak now or do you want to speak when it comes up? Okay, Mark? Stay for,
Mark,
Preisner?
yep,
Yeah, why don't you come on up and sit here and then we'll need your name and your address and speak into the microphone, please.
Sit.
Yep. You're really tall.
Might not pick up. Yes, Mark Preisner, I'm here about the proposed greenhouse landscaping. I live next door to it, just to the east. And I'm just wondering if the village has considered the effect that it might have on people's wells in the area, because I'm assuming they will be providing their own water as we do. And I was looking at just a quick search of how much water is used, and it looks like the equivalent of about 20 houses, new houses being all drawing water. And I think I have a concern about my well, and will the village address that? The second thing is the runoff from the landscaping, whole area. We're low, everybody's low in the area. That land is full of water right now, but anyway, well, water runs to the ditch and we'll probably head our direction, tends to go that way, but our water doesn't drain, it doesn't move, it basically just fills up our ditches. And I'm a little bit concerned because looking up how much water actually moves from a place like that is pretty enormous. And it basically means my ditches will just be full of all the water. that comes. It really doesn't. We basically have lakes, and the only thing that it doesn't drain away, so we just basically wait for it to evaporate. So I'm concerned about is this runoff. From whatever buildings and just the watering and the pesticides and the chemicals. I have a lot of frontage and I have 13 grandchildren. I don't know what's gonna be in my ditch, what the runoff will be. So that's my concern. I'm just wondering if the village is addressing that. The other question I had, the last time someone tried to go into the state highway would not allow an access off of 114. It was kind of a complete stop to their plans because they didn't want more access to a busy highway. So I don't know if that's been looked at. Anyway, just those 3 points are my concern.
Yeah, just so you know, him receiving permission from the state DOT to have access
You do.
is
Okay.
part of the condition.
Okay.
I don't know if we've looked at the well situation, but also the part about the water in the ditches, that again is the state DOT.
Okay.
That we don't have any control of.
You don't do anything with that.
We have no control about state right away.
So the water issue is still kind of my biggest
Well,
concern.
Water issue, I understand, is by the county, correct? Controlled by the county.
The water in the ditch or the.
No, the well.
The well, that's all DNR, so we have no jurisdiction over wells.
Say what?
The DNR regulates wells.
So they
So
take
they
into
need a-
consideration who's in the area or whatever. How does that work?
Yes, as part of their process, and if they come in for a high capacity well, then they'll monitor the wells around it as
Okay.
part of their process.
Okay. Okay,
Okay,
so that's, we'll see what happens.
right. So thank you. Steve Reuter?
Yeah.
So we just need to give your name and your address, Steve.
Stephen Ryder. W 5519 State Road 114, Menasha. And thank you, Madam President and Board, for allowing me to speak here tonight. And I echo the same concern that Mark echoed said about the water. Because I'm 180 feet deep with the well right now, 165 casing. And my neighbor, Dave, behind me, he's close to 400 feet deep with water. So that's my biggest concern, is the well water. And chemical runoff on off the far beds or what have you. Is he gonna be using commercial grade fertilizers, chemicals, or organic? And that, of course, that's regulated by DNR, of course, But I hope the board, Harrison, will try and keep an open eye to what's going on and alert the state to what's going on. And the sewer, well, that goes into with the sewer, with the chemicals again. Now, when you wash the equipment, I'm sure there'll be equipment to be washed, rinsed, and runoff. Will that go into the sewer, into the holding tanks or mound system? Which is probably concerned with the county. I'm not sure the county has the jurisdiction for a mound system or sewer system.
I think that is the county.
The county, I
Right,
think,
Chad? That's the county.
county. Yeah, then the lighting. I asked Dwayne, lighting, he says, oh, a yard light. When I went to school, yard A means one yard light. Incandescent bulb. But of course, now we don't have incandescents, we have LEDs. Now, what kind of hue are we going to, temperature of the lighting, gonna be of that light? Is it gonna be a floodlight to flood the neighborhood?
Okay, let me put your mind at ease
Yes,
for a minute, Steve. Okay, 'cause this is just the first step. Okay, if he gets his permits from the DNR and the county and the state is gonna be the trickiest one. Then he has to come back and show us his plan,
Okay,
okay? And so you're gonna get another kick at the cat for all of the landscaping, the lighting, fencing, whatever's. Anything like that, it'll come back to this
Okay.
board. Okay,
Okay,
so
will
you'll
we
get
be-
another kick at the cat.
will we be getting another letter in the mail to announce this? Because you lose it in the post president, it gets lost.
Did they get another letter? They do not.
They're only required under referral, required under ordinance to notify the next.
Okay, but you can keep all of the agendas All of the agendas are posted on the website. You can keep track every single month, what meetings are coming up and what's on. And they would probably first go to the planning commission, correct?
Yeah, I think the site plan review process currently is only reviewed by an internal committee and then recommended to the planning commission. I have to verify.
Yeah, so keep an eye on the agendas.
Okay,
coming up.
yeah, okay, that's a bit about that on that here, it depends on the hours of operation and. Other,
All
my
of-
biggest concern is the well. And the lighting, and for me, it'll be just lighting in my bedroom, I could pull the drapes, yeah. So, but my friends, neighbors down there, they'll be shining in this living room.
Well, you're gonna get a chance.
Yeah, okay.
When it comes back, the lighting, that the wells and the runoff, that's all controlled by the DNR.
Well, thank you, Madam President and Board, for my time to listen to my spiel.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. And then John and Al, you guys want to speak later? Okay, all right. I don't have anyone else to speak in the public comment section. No? All right, very good. Then we will move on. Reports. Do I call you Mr. Secretary now? Hey, girl.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll start by asking if there are any questions about the report.
No questions? Okay.
Okay, I'd like to bring just a couple of things to your attention. I recently had the honor of attending the Fire Department Instructors Conference in Indianapolis. And I've been to a lot of conferences in my time, and this one was by far the most informative and educational that I have ever gone to. Having the opportunity to speak with the different representatives from the different companies in person was invaluable. And I'll give you one example. We currently have 4 gas meters, and they're the same gas meters that We Energies will use. And when they go down, there's only, excuse me, one place that we can send them to get repaired. And after speaking with the representative, one of the questions that I had for him is there anything that I can do on my end to make this process easier, yada, yada? He said, well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. If you talk to the guys in the booth right next door, they're our primary distributor, and you can take a class through them. It's about an hour or so online. It costs you about $200. And you will then be certified to replace the sensors that are in this. So now we don't have to pay, I'm taking the class. You don't have to pay the shipping to have it sent out someplace else. And we don't have that immediate $150 bench charge that you're automatically going to have to pay, and including, you still have to pay for the parts and everything. Now I can just order the part and replace it myself. So it was a very, very, very good conference. The other thing that I'd like to inform the board on is every year we do pump testing on all 3 of our engines. That's a requirement that all fire stations and fire departments do. And the pump testing went great. What I also have them do is a DOT inspection. That is not something that's required. It's about, I don't know, $125, $150. I have to look to give you the exact number. But it gives us insurance that if something does happen while our people are driving, we can say, hey, our trucks are DOT inspected, and we kind of cover that base. There was an incident down in Fond du Lac where something happened, and of course, the lawyers, the first thing they ask for is, can we see your DOT inspection? So I want to make sure that we can, for the cost that it is for each of the trucks, it's so minimal. And it also, this time around, we got very lucky. In fact, we partner with Buchanan and Combined Locks. It just saves us money. We do it all at the same time. We just rotate where we have it. I dropped off our oldest engine 74, and within 15 minutes of me getting back to Station 70, I got a phone call, and it was, hey, we got to talk. And I'm thinking, hey, what's wrong with the pump? Because that's what we dropped it off for. And he said, you can't drive this. What do you mean I can't drive it? He said, if you look underneath, your rear axe is about to come off. And there are U-bolts that it's a leaf spring suspension that hold it in place. It was broken, and it was actually crooked underneath. So now I found myself in a predicament, okay, now how do I get it from here all the way over to Fremont if we can't drive it? Luckily, there is a local towing company that was able to do that for us at a minimal cost. And they actually put it up on flatbed and took it away to, get it fixed and stuff. He said, you're one good bump away, that tear off the bottom of your engine, and then you'll be in a real predicament. So, it's being fixed right now. I'm expecting a phone call, most likely tomorrow, to go pick it up. It's been there for a little over a week or so, and
And you're checking the rest of the trucks.
oh, yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So, that's, is it gonna be a costly bill? I'm sure it's not going to be cheap, but at the same time, it would have been way more expensive if we had not caught that. So, that's kind of what's going on in our fire department right now.
Okay. Any questions or comments, guys?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sheriff's Department. Lieutenant Joe. How are you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
That's good.
Madam President, members of the board, any questions about the monthly report?
Looked like a couple of pretty serious arrests in the past months.
Yeah, I tried looking up some of these. Looks like they were over in an investigation, so they didn't happen on the incident date, so they were investigated for a while.
Any questions or comments, guys?
One thing that we just started doing in the last month, you're familiar with 988, the suicide hotline. People can call that if they are feeling suicidal, have depression, anxiety, addiction, any number of mental health related issues. We recently had a meeting with the Wisconsin Call Center is through Family Services up in Green Bay. A couple supervisors from there came down to our office and met with us. We're now working with them. We're the first county in the state where we initially vet the calls. And if it's not in imminent danger, we will actually transfer the calls to a 988 counselor on the phone, who then will talk to the person. And then if it turns out in their assessment where a law enforcement needs to be involved, then they'll transfer it back to us. This way, it's not only safer for law enforcement, but also somebody that is highly trained in mental health services is able to provide services to that individual and actually have follow-up services. In the state of Wisconsin, the call center receives about 6,000 calls a month. Of those, about 30% are suicidal and homicidal ideations. They're able to get that down to 0.5% to 1%, where they have to get law enforcement involved. That's how effective this program actually is. So, so far this program's been working well, and I'm hoping that not only does this provide a better service for the community, but also frees up law enforcement to be doing more traditional law enforcement.
Oh. Excellent. Any comments, questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Planning and zoning. Chad, you need a longer list.
So in your packet is a list that the chair just sent, and if there are some questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them, but I will give you a couple. So we acquired all of the right of way needed for state park road reconstruction. It came in a little bit higher than what had originally been budgeted in the opinion of us, but we had significant savings under the construction line item and received that DOT grant to fund that. So we're excited that project will be moving forward, and when the reconstruction should be starting sometime in June with MCC sites along the project. The other couple things, there's all of the Gardner's Creek Stormwater Detention Pond ownership now has been transferred in property tax records to the village. And we did not receive any funding through the STP agreement of the DOT for manhole collector gateway. The county has reported that they did not receive funding either for County KK. I guess there was only one project with $4 million awarded in this district. And it's not in Calumet County at all, so unfortunately, there will be no major reconstructions underway in the next 3 years.
Does it, even though Calumet County is growing, second largest, fastest growing county in the state, does the state give you any reason why they can't give us some money or so?
It is, the state doles the money out to the regional planning commission, and then the regional planning commission makes the recommendations, but they've said that their contribution for this entire 18 county district has been substantially less than any other period, and they don't, they've got no answers as to why. Where that funding is going.
Julie?
Just a question. Thank you, Crystal. Congratulations on getting all the right of ways, but what does it mean without having a condemned property?
So we couldn't get somebody to agree to sell us, we would have to go through a condemnation process and take it under eminent domain. Which is the last straw trying to get it.
Which is really ugly.
I'm sure.
It's really ugly.
When we're having at all the property owners out there were willing to.
Thank you.
Matt?
Thank you. Just a question on the Burrow Springs boat launch.
Oh, yeah. Can I say, we need to change that. It's not a boat launch. It's a public safety access.
Safety.
It's not a boat launch.
Right, so that's who.
We gotta fix that.
But my question is, have you been in contact with Milas? Concrete construction?
I have not, I'm still working with Emily, with Martinson, I think he was doing the design on behalf of, for free, basically. So once we get out to, there's an draft bid package ready to go on the street. And once that's ready, I will share it with them. But I think we're gonna be switching over from a poured in place to precast concrete panels that would be slid in place. So I don't know if they do that, but I will definitely be in touch.
Okay, before you bid it out, I guess. Talk with them, because my understanding is they're willing to make a very significant donation to the project, as in maybe fully donating the project.
Sounds good, I will be. Thank you.
But we definitely have to change the name. It's the Barrel Spring Public Safety Access. Any other questions or comments on the list? All right,
Thank you for the list again, that's very helpful.
yes, it is. And everyone's looked, has seen the building permit, zoning permit report. Any questions on that?
Residential going like crazy, I see.
Most of that stuff is already in the pipeline. It's in the pipeline before. Okay, parks and trails.
So the report is before you, they would say that, we've been. We're happy to have a park supervisor position, Ryan Kepke in the Department of Public Works applied for that, so he's assuming the role and managing the staff and handling the day-to-day operations of the park system, which is going great. We played the mulch at Chipotle Ridge. Pictures of that in your package, and then we have been just been in contact with logging companies to walk the dead ash in the Darkway Park Forest, and it continues to be difficult to find somebody to take on that project. We have one more company that we're hoping that might be interested, but the other 4 that we're contacted, like flying into the everybody's got ash trees, and they, firewood isn't premium anymore with all the dead ash that's there. So, the reason the staff hasn't gone in there is frankly because of the weather and and trying to wait for it to hopefully dry out, so we don't worry about more than what it already is. But hopefully going forward in the next month, we'll have a decision on the direction for dealing with the dead ash trees in that forest. Farmers Field, we're working with the energies. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, the electric will be starting to go in there along with lighting. And we are continuing to work on the natural playground design to eliminate them.
Any questions or comments? Matt?
Chad, where are we looking at? I saw a couple of things on the village Facebook page. Where are we looking at possibly doing an inclusive park act? Inclusive.
Well, we haven't confirmed it 100% where that would be yet. So I don't really have an answer. We know that we need to, and there's been a lot of interest in doing that. But as we move forward with some of these park designs, we definitely know that that's a need. We just don't have an identified project.
Fair enough, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, moving on. Public Works.
So what I would say in this one is that the county Buchanan and the Village of Harrison have an intergovernmental agreement to install traffic lights at the intersection of State Park Road in County KK. That project was budgeted at 800,000 and came in 227,000 under budget.
Nice.
So the three parties will be moving forward. Kelly McClung will be managing that. Cedar Corporation will be the engineer, handling the construction administration. We're anticipating the work to start real soon on reconfiguring the lanes, with some detours and stuff being set up. The shipment of the traffic signals is estimated at 6 to 8 months. So they're going to get the road work done and then come back and install the traffic signals once that gets here. Other than that, the staff continues to work on a number of projects, street sweeping, children, brush pickup, garbage pickup. We had 180 some people on the brush pickup list for today. So if you hear from, 225. So if you hear from residents, and we didn't get there today, we will get there. They just need to have concerns as we work through a huge list, especially with the storm damage from last.
Wow. Any questions or comments?
Does the lane reconfiguration include turning lanes?
I believe it does.
County's designing that, correct?
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? All right, moving on. All right, Harrison Utilities, Brandon.
Thank you, Madam President. The home of the Harrison Utilities is included in the packet, and now any of the items related to the utilities.
Any questions? Hearing of none? All right, very good. All right, clerk treasurer, Vicky.
My report. Available if you have questions.
Any questions or comments? Looks like we're gonna do a discussion on the ARPA funds later on in the agenda, so we can hold on any comments for that. Any other questions or comments on the clerk treasurer report? All right, hearing none. You have the budget comparison reports. Any questions on the budget numbers? And we are looking at seeing a review about the state of the audits in June, correct? Everything should be. The auditor should be here in June. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All right, we are to approval of bills and claims. What is your pleasure? Need a motion to approve? Motion to approve bills and claims for March 2024 present. There a second? I'll second by Darlene. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, vote your ballot. Let the record show the motion's carried unanimously. Page 2 of our 3-page agenda, guys. Just a little light reading tonight. All right, and there's no old business. Hey, no old business, right, guys? So we're good. Okay, so we're into new business. Item A, the conditional use permit for Dwayne at parcel 39-948, Highway 55. Dwayne, did you want to come up and speak, or you just want to stay right there? Okay. You just want to stay right there. Chad, you want to speak to this?
Sure. So this is actually Highway 114, and the planning commission has approved this conditional use permit for Dwayne to operate the greenhouse At this location, the hours of the greenhouse will be Monday through Friday morning at 6 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday hours. There will be a retail shop and parking area in the park top area, and then a number of greenhouses and stormwater pond. So there's some challenges with the access being controlled by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. So they'll need to work through those requirements as well as work through the future model septic system and any wells that we discussed before between Wilton County and DNRs. So the planning commission had recommended approval of this conditional use permit as the first step, as the chair has said in this process. And there's a number of conditions that need to be met before we would be able to move on to the next step. With those conditions are the things such as approval from the DOT, your wells and the septic and some of the other stuff. So the planning commission recommended approval, and the recommendation to the board was to approve this.
Questions, comments? If no questions or comments, is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the conditional use permit on Dwayne Duchart, parcel 33948, Highway 114. And with the staff recommendations, it's printed and circulated.
A second.
Second by Julie. Any questions or comments? And then just to remind you that this will be coming forward to the planning commission eventually, so keep an eye on the website and those agendas coming up, okay? Are you prepared to vote your ballot? All right, vote your ballot. Let the record show the motion is carried unanimously. And we are moving on. We have a certified survey map for Mark and Pam Shear at N 9554 Highline Road, and there's two parcels that are owned by the same property owner, 39028, 39038. Chad? A motion to approve?
Yep.
Okay, motion by Matt, second by Mike. Any
Under
discussion?
Very simple, they're just moving a property line from the tennis floor instead of residential.
Any discussion? Not, vote your ballot. Let the record show the motion's carried unanimously. Okay, revised concept of Springer's Estates. You guys both want to come up? Or one at a time? All right.
Good evening, I'm John Dable from Dable Engineering and Environmental. Thank you, President and Board, for allowing me to make a few comments prior to your discussion. It's my understanding that the item on the agenda tonight is for reconsideration of the action that was tabled back in January.
I don't believe so. Chad, I don't think we can do the reconsideration until June, correct?
No, we can, it actually was the end of April, and April is the main meeting, 8 to 90 days.
Okay, why didn't we list it that way on the agenda then, reconsideration?
Well, then, it's time, so there's a completely new item, this is not a reconsideration.
Well, that was my question, because this is a completely separate
It
item.
was a 3-3 vote, so it failed at that meeting, so
Right.
there's a new item coming forward.
Okay, but I just want to clarify, if they still want to bring that other item back for reconsideration, they could do that in June.
I guess they could if they wanted to, but
Well,
the board had moved it down, it didn't
Well,
have, so.
I'm just, Andy, clarification?
Yeah, so. It's a fine line, fine meaningless line between introduction and reconsideration. This is just being reintroduced as a new standalone agenda item right now.
Okay.
Reconsideration, according to your local rules, is something that can be done immediately after. Item is adopted or defeated by somebody who voted in favor of the previous result. So this is, as long as we waited 90 days, it should be proper.
Okay, all right.
okay, well, thank you for that clarification. The preference of the developers is that plan that was submitted in January. I did submit an alternate plan for discussion, which is slightly different and a little more commercial. Newer duplexes. But there are some compromises that would come with that layout. That the board should be aware of. One of them is a likely request from the developers for some sort of participation, assistance via TIF or some other way. For the project and, second might be a variance or an agreement to go with, I don't want to say substandard, but a lesser right of way width. Which is allowed by the ordinance, but not typically preferred. So, I'm hopeful that, we can, leave tonight with a little better direction on where we want to go with this. With offering the two different alternative plans. So we can move this project forward in one way or another. I did bring along with me a letter from the Housing Now Coalition that I'd like to distribute, and I know you won't have a chance to read it during the meeting. But it's a really good document, and it offers documentation on the need for this type of housing that's proposed in this development. And I would encourage you to take the time to read it because it has some very good information in it. Thank you.
Questions or comments? Mel, did you want to speak?
Well, yeah.
I'm gonna hold you to 5 minutes, Mel. All right, so be concise. Have a seat. Have a seat. Give your name and address.
Then I can give you something. Cause I wanna, sure, I wanna give you something. I just wanna give you the cost of, your road. This is
You're
the,
talking about the road by the pond. You're talking about
Prosperity.
prosperity.
This is the cost of prosperity. And this is the one chance in a lifetime you're gonna get because there isn't a developer out there that will do this, will take on for doing. Because there ain't nobody gonna spend that kind of money because you can't make it go. Okay, now. The second plan that he's got. Truthfully, I prefer that one. Because they want more commercial anyway, and I think we can try it, okay? So, I really think it would possibly go. The only thing we need is to change that plan. That you all got a copy of that second one? Yeah, okay. The thing that it won't go that way because the point is you are not going to really give us have 60-foot roads, right?
I don't know.
Are we gonna do this?
They're asking for 60-foot roads. Jeff? You have a comment? Ted?
It's not that the village's practice to approve 60-foot roads, so. It's up to the board to decide who the roads.
Okay, let me give you an option. I mean, I spent a month on this, trying to figure out how to get, we got Springer, Mrs. Springer's house, we got to match everything. There's a 20-foot waterway between Campbell's building and that unit right there. So if we had the goofy thing you got in this town is every other town, the back of a building is only 10 feet. And you got 25 feet. And if I could get a 10-foot variance on that, because you'd still be 60 feet from another building. There's a 20-foot waterway in there between them buildings and us. So I need a variance that I could move the building to 15 feet. Then we could change the size of those lots a little bit and have it all come out perfect.
And the roads would be standard size then? So we wouldn't have to get a variance on the road itself.
Well, you need a variance because your ordinance says 25 feet, right, in the back?
Well, the lot,
25 front and 25 in the back.
If we need that extra footage for roadway, we push that north lot north, making it less,
10 feet.
less by 18 feet and then the variance to the.
I only need 10 feet.
So the
Mhm.
roads would be standard, but you're looking for a variance for the lot.
Yeah,
offset.
so that we could build the back of the building 15 feet from the lot line. But you gotta remember, the lot line is a 20-foot waterway. So there is no water. That I gave them a long time ago.
And right now you're looking for consensus or approval motion for the concept plan, which has more commercial, less duplex, and single-family residences.
The only thing that'll change is the commercial lots will get a little smaller.
That's still within our ordinance, correct?
I'm not sure, I have to look at the drawing.
Okay, all right. What do you guys think? Scott?
Is the single family dwellings are those, what's the, what's
sorry.
the RS2, RS1 was it standard?
That's the other thing that will change though. If we do this here plan, the single family plan, the single family homes would start then it might from behind that in the 30.
I just feel we're
As we need.
in the midst of redoing our comp plan and this is proposal is putting a subdivision in a place where I really feel is not a good place to put subdivision on. I just feel we're putting the cart before the horse. I would like to see the comp plan be done first before start putting residential way on the east side of KK.
No, I would like to remind this board that one of the major points our consultant for the comp plan said is that we need duplexes and smaller homes, that we have no inventory. We have no inventory right now for any smaller homes. They're all gone. They're all gone. And people are looking for smaller homes and are looking for duplexes. And there's a need for senior housing. There's a need for zero entry homes.
But you gotta remember, the state law is that you got commercial property, you have to have a buffer. And you gotta use duplexes or something, a buffer before the residential, so. I mean, you're gonna have a couple hundred acres of residential after this stuff. So this is their last chance, and you gotta remember that there is nobody gonna even take Springer's as a developer, because who's gonna pay for prosperity? Right? Nobody will pay for it.
And just so people who are in the audience, he has a total cost of roughly $400,000 for the reconstruction of Prosperity, which someone has to pay for
Yeah,
eventually.
I am.
Okay, Mike, you had a question?
So he has in
Oh, yeah.
One, I guess, one comment, I don't know why our buttons aren't working tonight. I thought we agreed to use our buttons.
No, we didn't, because the main one had a button that doesn't respond all
Okay,
the
well,
time.
that'll be a separate conversation, I guess.
No, but that's why I talked about when we get Granicus going,
Oh.
or we have our,
That's
That's a different
that should be going, because
That's
it
a
should be
different-
more orderly for our meetings, that has why we wanted to do that, but anyway, separate topic. So. I am still going to vote with no on this, I'm against this. For reasons. We need to think about here. Number one, we are in the middle of redoing our comprehensive plan. And this project. As well here completely goes against even our existing comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan does not have anything with duplexes. This is prime commercial area for small contractor type businesses. And I really think you need to look at the plan here, that you would have this entire property that would be for small contractor type businesses. I do believe that depending on the proposal, I understand there's some cost trade-offs. So, we have a kid in this area that's pretty much connected to this property. And I think if you make this all commercial, if there's something that makes sense as a pay-as-you-go TID, so the village isn't tracking money. But if there is a pay-as-you-go TID proposal to make this all commercial, I'm only one board member, so I can only speak for myself. But I would certainly be willing to entertain that. What I have to look at, and I realize there's demand for housing. I realize there's different studies and different things out there. I appreciate some of this coming forward. But
Can I say
No, I'm
something?
not done yet.
Wait,
Please.
wait, no.
Respectfully, thank you. Please let me finish. We have a responsibility as a board. I want to remind all of you of this. We are elected by the people that already live here. We are not elected by the people that want to move up. And that is a very key difference. We are responsible for the people that already live here. Those are the people that elected us. And a community economic development survey was recently done. 702 people answered the question, and they were very clear in this survey that they do not want duplex. So I am not voting for any project that has duplexes. Because I'm going to listen to the constituents out here that elected me. And I encourage my fellow board members to really think about that, who we answer to. We answer to those that elected us. Thank you.
Julie?
Here,
Mel,
I'm gonna
stop,
respond.
no, stop. Julie?
Yeah, the duplexes, I read the survey as well, and I know that there was a lot of information that supported no more multifamilies, but people did want senior housing, and we don't have any of that. And so the reason that I plan to vote yes for this is because I think there's a glaring need for senior housing, and I understand that there's been opposition in the past because of EMS calls, and I don't think we get to pick and choose that we can only take seniors that are healthy and will not need EMS calls. So I think that the duplex option, while I agree that, you know, I'm not in favor of big multifamilies, but I am in favor of affordable housing for seniors. I'm a senior. If I choose to give up my big area that I live in, I would like to be able to move here. So I'm one of those people that is a current resident and I'd like to stay a resident. But there would be if I want to go into something that's an affordable housing for a senior, I'd have to leave the village, and I don't want to do that. So I'm in favor of this proposal because I think it offers a good blend of commercial, some residential, and some potential senior housing.
Mike?
Over the weekend, I went down Highline, only found 2 residents. I stopped multiple times with the residents. And talked to the existing, there's 5 houses in it. And the 2 people I talked to, dead set against this. Dead set. And they were shocked that I stopped and asked. They've never had anyone from the village asking these questions.
So what do they want?
Nothing.
Exactly.
I'm not done. How big do we want Harris? Right now, we're at 15,000 people.
I'm glad you said that.
We're 2,000 away from the city of Pequot. I think we're getting Harrison. I'm all for adding on existing where houses already are, not recreating another subdivision out in the middle of nowhere. But again, we have to, in the back of our minds, how big do we want Harrison to be? We're gonna outgrow ourselves. Department of Public Works, we're gonna have to hire more people, buy more trucks. We have EMS, fire. We have to have all that into consideration. Yes, I'm done.
All
Right.
That's why I want our buttons to work next meeting, but we'll talk another topic. Anyway. So just a couple of follow-up comments. This is not a senior housing development. I do agree that we need senior housing. We have not seen a viable senior housing proposal come to the board, in my opinion. We've seen senior housing disguised as apartment complexes, sure, but that's not senior housing. We have not seen a viable, true senior housing development. These are duplexes. Survey says less than 10%, 9.69%. Only 68 respondents out of 702 we should have duplex. So just make sure we keep our terms correct here, what we're really building here, what's being proposed. And we do need to really think about, and I think we need to have, I know we got some things going on in the village here right now, overall. But we really need to this summer have a true visioning session to figure out what we want to be when we grow up as Harrison. Because I've lived out here for 20 years. And I talk to my constituents on a regular basis. And I'll tell you what, the people that have lived out here, Harrison's not what they signed up for. They've had a lot shoved down their throats that they are not happy with. Look at the turnover on this board, as far as how many board members have come and gone and have been elected out. That should tell you something, that the Harrison residents are not happy with what's being done to them. And I do not believe that they want us to be the city of Kaukauna or even bigger. They want the rural feel. So as far as I'm concerned, if this stays farmland too, great, it can stay farmland. What is wrong with fertile farmland as cropland and being part of what Harrison is as well? So, thank you.
Scott?
Thank you. So there was comments about affordable housing. I don't understand why it is on the village of Harrison to provide affordable housing, because no matter what we do, people in this room know the reason why housing is unaffordable right now has to do with the guy who's running the show on the federal level. It is not our job to provide affordable housing for people to move here. We don't have any factories.
Okay, we don't need to hit the table.
You know, I have the floor.
Yeah, but
You
let's not.
can't just
not hit the
interrupt
table.
me, Allison. You know what? You have to give people their right to speak. You don't get to interrupt. Thank you. So I will say again, I'm not for putting in houses that are less valuable than the existing homes here, because that will drive the value of their houses down. So I hope you think very hard about how you vote on this, because affordable housing only brings down the rest of the values of everybody who needs to build in this village. Thank you.
My point was, we don't need to hit the table.
You don't
Pound
need
your
to
fist.
comment every time. You should be pushing your button and asking to speak like everybody else.
Does anyone
You
else
can't
want to
interrupt
speak?
people.
Does anyone else want to speak?
Can I talk now?
Very short now.
Very short. Number one is, I've been working with this town long before you were just about in diapers, okay? Definitely, from day one. And so is she.
Let's keep
And-
it current.
Yeah, well,
Let's
I
keep it
know,
current.
but the point is, I don't think, portable, I agree with you. Portable housing is not the answer. But you're missing the point. We have commercial property that there's 16 lots on that thing that is gonna break me, because you are not gonna be able to sell them. You're sitting out on KK for 15 years, never even got a phone call on commercial, but these smaller ones might work. But, the whole point is, I know you don't want it to expand, but you can't even move on State Park Road or anything else until Prosperity goes in. Main sewer's gotta go down there. And the idea is, the only reason I did this, and now I got creamed with it, because with all your turning down and everything else, I ended up sticking that I gotta buy sprayers, so I bought sprayers, so now I got 50 acres of this stuff. But I do think that the reason I was trying to get sprayers and get it that far is just to get it to the 30, where you's gotta come up definitely with a plan where you're gonna go from there. And that's the whole idea of the whole thing, but the plan that you got in front of you, by just giving that 10 feet is the best plan that I can ever come up with for the town. And from what to do from there, I don't know.
All right.
And duplex.
Okay, Mel, no,
I live in a
Mel, we're
duplex.
done.
Yeah,
we're
no,
done.
I wanna talk about duplex.
Mel, no, stop.
She's got the answer, because when she retires like I do, I wanna go into someplace where I got a basement, or
Okay,
where I got a home.
Mel,
live.
stop. Matt,
This is my last comment, my third time to speak for our board rule, and I'll be done. My other concern that I forgot to mention earlier, and I want to mention that I have with this. There was recent concern again in the community. One of our Facebook pages, and I know some of you don't like social media, but there's people connected, and that's how they speak about things. It's valuable feedback. Feedback's a gift, guys and gals, and men and women of the board here. Some of you don't like to hear feedback, I don't think. So community feedback, I would love to see, because that's how we know what we're doing our job or not. And there was a concern about traffic again on the corner of State Park and KK, where several residents were concerned about why the stoplights haven't gone and got put up there yet. Which I'm glad we had an update in our packet tonight on, which is great to see that happen. Well, we're looking at adding here roughly 50 lots. You take out the commercial, yeah, so roughly 40 to 50 lots. Times 2 cars a day, 2 trips a day in and out. You're talking 200 more trips easily with cars. And guess what? There's not any kind of thing there. There's no stoplight, there's no protection at Prosperity or Highway. I've witnessed fatal accidents myself, being on the fire department at State Park and KK. Now we're just gonna add traffic to a road that can't support it and have more potential fatal accidents and tragedies. And that's no reason why not to approve this residential at this time. We're just not there. The Calumet County is trying to urbanize KK, trying to make KK safer. They need to get the funding. I had just heard this last week. They did not get their funding in this last cycle that they applied for, just like we heard that we didn't get some of our funding. They did not get their project funded yet. So until KK is funded to be a proper urban road, support traffic, we can't add more traffic either. Thank you.
2,000 trucks on that street.
stop.
2,000.
Stop.
times.
Mel, you're done. Okay. Is there a motion? Is anyone gonna make a motion? Yes or no, guys? Vote it up or vote it down.
Can't make a negative motion, so if there's no motion, then that means it failed on that round alone.
I'll make a motion to approve the revised concept plan for Springer's Estates.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Darlene. Any further discussion?
Just a reminder, you're accountable to people that voted you in office.
Absolutely.
We know that, Matt. We're all well aware. Let the record show the motion has failed with 3 ayes and 4 nays. Sorry. No. All right. We're moving on. Okay, resolution approving territory for TID number 2. You have the information in your packet. And you have the details. Any questions for our consultant here? No questions? Is there a motion to approve? Is there?
Motion to approve the resolution D 2024-4 approving territory amendment 1 for tax incremental district number 2 is printed in circular.
Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Second by Mike. Any, Julie?
I just have a question. This is just to clarify my understanding. So this parcel that's going to be developed is not so very far from the other one that we just talked about. So I'm just looking for my own information as to how we can recognize approving this area of the development, not the one that was just voted.
Because this is commercial property and commercial development, not residential.
So in other words, if Mel put all commercial in on his lots, it would get approved.
Yeah, I get that. So it's just the residential.
Correct.
Is the point. In other words,
Yeah.
commercial traffic coming in and out.
It's okay.
We would still have the traffic.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's commercial. So that would get
Okay.
approved. So that's the answer. If it were commercial, Mel's would have gotten approved.
Yeah.
So,
if I could,
Traffic is traffic.
okay,
Okay.
Scott,
thank you. So in a prior meeting. This is to answer your question, Joanne, was, I had asked the question of Chad, and I said, if we had a business park. POAB land. And with crossroad development. Would that property that Mel was trying to develop be? Would that be able to fill with commercial? And Chad, I believe, responded yes. So that was one of the reasons why I believe you put this in. It should spur commercial growth throughout the area. That we don't need to put residential, so that's the reason why this is different. Thank you.
All right, so is there a motion? There's a motion and a second to approve the TID number 2. Any further discussion? Which ballot? Okay, motion is approved, unanimous. All right, thank you. All right, so we have to review the territory amendment draft for the District 5, which includes residential properties. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? It includes residential properties. And we're using residential properties to fund the TID sooner with improvements. So I guess not all residential property is bad. It's only bad when certain people just don't want it.
Point of order.
Point of order. All right, moving on. And we have our consultant here on Zoom.
So Lisa from Ellers is remote. There's some information in your package. She's gonna run through two concepts for the board to consider as we look at an amendment to TID 5, which is was planned to be the village center on County Highway F. And to look at some options on funding some of the road improvements quicker with bringing in some newly platted residential.
So before we start, sorry to interrupt, do we have paperwork? Because I'm not getting paperwork.
You did not get any paper, and I had hoped to get it to you, so you had a paper copy, but it didn't happen, so she's just gonna run through the numbers high level with you, and hopefully you'll be able to.
Okay, no, good. Thank you, everybody. Now it's good enough. We have to do the bottom line.
Yeah, we got it. We got it. We can see.
Okay, can you see my screen with the map? I'm not sharing.
Yeah, we could get.
Can you hear us? Are you able to hear us, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, and you can see the map on the screen?
We're good.
Okay. So the original TID 5 included the 2 parcels in green that are along Manitowoc and County N. And then the territory amendment includes the one in pink. And what is also shown throughout the cash flow and development assumptions is adding in this 46878 parcel, which would be newly platted residential. So statutes regulate the amount of newly platted residential to no more than 35% of the real property. So it's going to exclude some wetlands in here that we're still waiting on acreage for. And then down in here, there is some senior facilities planned in this current parcel 39144. However, if you do include that parcel that's not colored, that limits the amount of acres that you could have from this parcel to be part of that senior living. And we'll see that in other charts. And then there's, so with the newly platted residential that's not colored but being proposed in this scenario, the value that it's estimated to be is about 21.5 million. And then the senior facility is about 6 million of value that's down here. And then there's an additional 1 million of commercial up here. So those would be the development assumptions that we'll see as we go through this. So this chart, and I'm sorry if you can't see the numbers, but it is the current project plan. So it shows that those 2 parcels for a total acreage of 37.14. So as I explained, if you do include that newly platted residential parcel in the amendment, it would limit the amount in that one parcel to about 6 acres that you could add to stay within that 35%, which we can see here. So it'd just be under the 35%. However, I want to note that currently, because we don't have those wetland acreage amounts, that could change a little bit. So this chart shows what is in the original project plan as far as what projects were in the plan, noting that 2 of them were done as far as the land acquisition and then the demolition on the 39142 parcel. So we're going to take these left over from the original project plan and include them with the amendment project cost. So we're going to take out, because these projects are complete, we are going to remove them from this amendment. There are several projects that are included in here with a 1 noted, and we want to maintain those within the project plan because they were already previously approved to be in there. So we want to keep those in there, but you would only do those if you would need to. So we've noted that at the bottom of here. But what you'll see in the cash flow is that these projects for the Homestead Lane improvements and land acquisition, these projects are going to be totaled up into a debt issue that you'll see in the cash flow. Going back, this is just showing those development assumptions. So the senior assisted living would be about 6 million. The newly platted residential, 21.5 million for 43 units. And then some commercial along the county end with 16 units, approximately 16 million of value added. Those development assumptions flow through this tax incremental projection worksheet to show what the revenue would be. So you have each year as value is added. And it totals that total increment considering years before. The current tax rate that we have available is $12.69. We've been seeing decreasing tax rates, so we just decreased it to about $12.10. So for all of this 43.5 million of development, you get about 8.8 million of tax increment revenue. So these revenue projections flow into the cash flow here. And we have sections just so you can follow. The first sections are the revenues. The next section in green is the expenditures, and then we'll talk about some balances over here. So we were told that there was a general fund advance to the TID in 2022. And that's going to carry through, and that was the amount that was spent on capital projects. The audit isn't showing any revenue from the general fund advance. So they are showing this large negative cash balance. However, it should be a liability. You should have received those funds and you should be paying back that advance with interest if you should decide. We did include some interest in our calculation over here. However, if we consider that you received that general fund advance and consider that with the cash fund balance, this is what we're kind of basing things off of. So that's why there's 2 different columns here. This showing it as the audit has it, so we can match up to the audit. But considering that that is an advance and a liability and it will be repaid, we would focus on this column over here. So looking at the projected revenues too, this is the debt proceeds for those projects for Homestead Lane and the land acquisition. We do show you would have to capitalize interest because of when development would occur and the lag between when you actually receive the revenue from that development. So that would be issued late this fall possibly. So we're showing it as a 2024 issue. And then this is the interest that we would be capitalizing. So you would have the funds to pay those interest expenses until you have enough tax revenue coming in to make the payments on that, as well as that general fund advance. So on the expenditure side, for that debt issue, this is the total of those project costs. You have some financing costs, and then in this last column is just some ongoing planning and administration costs. And then the total expenditures. So this is with that newly platted residential parcel that wasn't included in the map, that wasn't colored in there. That's with that 21.5 million of the newly platted residential value. I wanted to show you then without that, including that parcel and without having that value added, what that would look like. So again, we're going to focus on this last column. So issuing the debt for that and funding those projects, you wouldn't be receiving enough increment revenue to pay for those expenditures.
Lisa, I gotta interrupt you for a second. Can you move, the last column is covered up with your picture. Is there a way you can move the screen further? A little bit more. Keep moving it, yeah, because we can't see the last column. Can you move it just a little bit more towards the other? There you go. There you go. Now I think we got it.
Would it actually be possible? Or interrupt, you have this presentation, Shannon? Can we table this for a minute? Can you print it out for us? Because I really, we're voting on stuff. It's hard to follow up there, and I really think we should have.
Yeah, it's.
Oh.
It's.
I'm gonna make a motion that we pause this, knowing it's trying to pass through the agenda, and we'll come back to it.
Well, I'll tell you what, if we're gonna make a pause, let's make it a 10-minute pause.
And he can come back with papers by then. That's fine,
Right.
too.
Make it a 10-minute pause.
Open for a 10-minute break.
Okay, there's a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, we're gonna take a 10-minute break while we get paperwork, guys.
It's too hard to follow.
Yeah.
I have my key. I can't.
No, but just ask, copy for me. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, ask him to, because he's probably just calling you guys.
I didn't have a very good representation.
Okay. So you're right. Okay. Yeah. I sure do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know this. And I think it. Right. It's a paper. Scan. Yeah. Did you take your action? And sliding.
Yeah.
Slide there. We said.
Working on, he's working on the. No, I didn't have. It's only put seats.
Because when it's together. I print a packet at a time. I go to the electronic copy.
Give it another. You'll be surprised. Everything is kind of. It has. Watermelon plant. Be able to. Yeah. Grab it, shoot it right. I didn't have. I had.
Chad, almost done. Because they want 2 more years. Okay, one picture.
All right.
I know, my friend, his son's in there. And they're there.
All right, we need a motion to go back into open session, guys. Motion to go into open session.
make a motion to one of the.
Motion by Mike, second by Julie to go in. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Okay, we're back in open session and we've got our cheat sheets here. So where do you guys wanted to go back and start again now that you've got the numbers in front of you?
I think making sure that easiest would be for her to start over on the second to last page and talk about the numbers. The option of putting in the platted and then the option to without it, because that's the crux of the decision.
Okay, so the last 2 pages.
Yes. Does that work, Lisa?
Yes, because the bottom line is for the board to decide whether they want to include that one parcel that isn't highlighted, that would be the newly platted residential. So the first cash flow page like this includes the 21.5 million of value for that newly platted residential parcel. And so that does show that you would be able to, based on what the information we have right now, close approximately 2037. Whereas if you don't include that parcel and you don't have that development and that value added, the parcel or the cash flow, you end in a negative fund balance, which is a liability of the village. So otherwise you would need to see some more higher value development in the 2 existing parcels and the one that you would add.
So in other words, we have to add the residential in order to make this a positive cash flow.
If you
So
want
we
to,
don't have a choice.
if you're going to do the projects that you have listed for that Homestead Lane.
So the question here is, so just to back up, so the board will recall back for a few months ago, we had a discussion about acquiring this parcel that's identified on there in the income one page that basically own commercial from midway down to Manitowoc along the frontage of County End. And at that time, there was gonna be a roadway that was gonna be Hometown Lane, Homestead Lane, whatever it's called, would be basically serving as a kind of north-south border parallel to County Highway N. And you'd have commercial lots along the frontage of County N that would be serviced by the service road that would intersect down at Manitowoc Road. And then down below at Manitowoc, there was roughly 6 to 8 acres dedicated for a public facility. The fire station, the future fire station, public safety building is yet to be determined. And then there was going to be a large commercial site of roughly 20 acres, kind of still in the middle, just north of the public dedicated space. By bringing in this newly platted residential per the numbers that Ellers ran, which is the Muniac Meadows Phase 2 development that didn't happen yet out there, would give this district the instant cash flow that it needs to be able to cash flow, and so that we could fund those improvements as well, putting that roadway in and as well as any other extension that's needed. Now there's some, so the pro forma includes the entire cost of that Hometown Lane. There will be some costs that will be shared with the developer. And we've had those discussions with Scott DeWitt already on the cost of that road, so that roughly $2.5 million to extend the roadway from Midway down to Manitowoc won't all be there by the village, but we don't have numbers to work through yet on that. But I guess where I'm coming from is just because we're bringing in newly platted residential into the TIF district, doesn't mean we're gonna give the developer incentives, and that's not in any means the plan. The project can cash flow on itself. The reason for this is to give us cash to be able to fund these improvements that need to happen in this area to facilitate both the commercial development, maybe a future, senior housing development on an interior parcel, and then the public space for a public safety.
So the infrastructure is primarily, utilities,
Roadway
roadway,
and utilities.
roadway and utilities.
And it brought in it along, I don't remember the actual footage, but it runs between Manitowoc and Midway, so it's a long road.
About a mile. Matt,
Thank you, Madam President. So to me, this makes perfect sense. Appreciate staff for being creative and thinking outside the box here a little bit. One thing I was just trying to look at the project cost. I didn't see the land acquisition cost in here for 39138. So I just want to make sure that that's,
I'm sure the 300,000 is built in there.
okay, that's the other 300,000. Okay, all right. Okay, never mind. Then we're good there. As long as we're not giving the developer incentives for 4, 6, 8, 7, 8. I don't see why we wouldn't do this. This is a way to make this cash flow and really bring a lot of commercial, hopefully, to the village here. Because you need to have shovel ready. You need to have the roads and you need to have the infrastructure there. And this is the way to not put this on the backs of our taxpayers. As far as why this is different too, residential wise, point out a couple of things. Number one, the Seleniac Meadows 2, it's already been planned for, already been through development agreements and what for. There's some permitting and probably left, but it's already been proven that they're doing this. We're also not creating any kind of additional urban sprawl at all here, because if you look at where we're going, putting more, having the houses at 4, 6, 8, 7, 8, that's just filling in between where there really is houses. So it's a natural continuation there. The other piece here is there is absolutely zero traffic concern. The county spent significant money recently to put a roundabout up at the corner of 10 and Midway, where all this traffic comes out at. So traffic concerns have already been taken care of there by having safe passage. So I'm definitely in favor of this, and we need to keep this going here for any commercial development.
any other discussion?
Yeah, I'm confused.
Darling,
We had people just last year come and complain about N because it's only 2 lanes. They can't get out on their road. So it's kind of the same thing as KK, really. Do you not remember them? They tried to get out on Woodland on the N.
I remember.
And they were very upset about the road for which we didn't do that. We didn't make the lanes, and that's it. But I'm just saying, it's kind of the same thing to me.
Julian's got a question. Julian?
Yeah, just a statement. I mean, I remember just a few months ago, we were talking about safe passage to school and how the roundabout in the end was just a nightmare for traffic. So I understand all of your rationale, but it's like, have the rationale apply consistently to each situation, not make a different rationale for different situations. So N is a highly trafficked area. We talked about it before. We put the safe passage for schools and have, so just, it's confusing to me when the rules change.
Mark,
This is in the comprehensive plan already.
Yep.
This is in the comprehensive plan. All this has been approved several years ago by the board for residential in this area. This has already been approved, so I live on, I drive down in almost every day. There's not a traffic issue in N right now. So this makes perfect sense for our growth, for filling in the gaps for residential. The residential is already there. It's already been approved. And it meets it's in our comprehensive plan already. And it meets our commercial goals going forward down in. And it helps us get the utilities to our big property to the south. So it's a huge win for the village here. So I'm voting yes for this, because it makes sense. And it already is in the comprehensive plan. So I'm only gaslighting here tonight.
I'm gonna make a motion.
Jolene, Julian's
One
gonna,
last thing, Mark, I'm not gonna, I'm voting yes because of the reasons that you said. I just don't like the mixed messages on, there's no traffic problem on end, there is a traffic. There is. We talked about it before we agreed. So thank you for your feedback.
and we had the sheriff's department come in and talk about it as well, that there is a foot traffic problem on it. So let's be honest here, guys,
I was just
okay?
saying, I was confused
Yeah,
about
let's be honest.
two different ways, you know what I'm saying?
And I also am voting for this.
I am too, but.
But be aware that we are voting to put residential in a TID so that we can cash flow the TID. So that's not gaslighting, that's a fact. All right, guys. So Matt, were you gonna make a motion?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve any residential subdivision that would make me able to do in the project plan, the territory amendment and for in.
I'll second.
Second by Darlene. Chad?
The only thing I just want to be aware of is we originally had planned for roughly 16 to 20 acre lot for some type of other development. And by bringing this planet in, which don't get me wrong, makes a lot of sense. It's gonna force us to lower the size of that newly platted for in the village, so we're gonna have to be more creative. It's gonna go from a 16 acre down to a 7 or 6 or 8 acre parcel, which was still developable for senior housing. And I don't see an issue with it. It's just that we're gonna have to figure out the other uses, whether that's commercial or something else, but we'll work on that as part of the CSM and the plan.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, the motion is to approve adding the additional territory to the TID. And let the record show the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Have
it.
a good night.
Okay, we have counter offer from Crossroad Development. It's in your packet. Staff recommendation is to approve the counter offer for parcels 4390 and 4384. Matt?
Thank you, Madam President. I do have one additional thing that I believe we should put in this offer, and it's gonna be counter back, unfortunately, but we should add a condition for soil boring, soil testing. There has been a bill done on that site, and it's very common practice to do soil testing when you're looking to do a purchase, to make sure everything is suitable to what you want to do. I know there's other areas in the valley right now that are looking to be developed, significant areas of farmland, et cetera, and part of the due diligence is being done as their soil testing that's being done on that, so we should just make sure we're protecting ourselves with those factors.
Chad, can we get the soil boring done before June 28th?
Yeah, just.
All right.
That question to me was, is this already included in the plan front? And it could be, but it's not. So we can talk about the best way to do that offline if the board wants to do something with that addition, and we can review it after check.
Okay, then the question is, if the soil boring comes out to be negative, that's something we don't want. Is there a deadline? Because we've got a closing date of what, September 30th, right? So,
Given that a lot of this is already planned and talking with Dean and talking with Dable, I think the soil boring is in a lot of that stuff. So we'll just get that as part of this process, and we'll have our engineer take a look at it, and if there's issues, then we'll bring it back to the board and decide if we want to or not. I'm not anticipating it being a problem.
okay, but my only question is they've got a line 2, a deadline of no later than June 28th for this board to make a decision one way or the other.
Well, we would recommend that the board makes a decision on it tonight, contingent upon adding that information.
And having a positive
Yes.
boring sample?
Well, for example, revealing no,
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, Andy.
a boring sample revealing no conditions.
Revealing no conditions, so. Is there a
Yeah,
motion?
just confirm that it's truly goalable and that we don't have
So,
issues. It's standard practice to deal with when you're buying land, just for development, really.
Okay, Scott,
So what if the other party says, no, this is it, I mean, why do I gotta go and do this? I mean,
I'm guessing the answer is going to not be that. But the other party is wanting to not be the developer, but that's this happens, so I don't think that's gonna be an issue, and I think a lot of that has already been done because they were so far down the permitting process, they were ready to push on it.
thank you.
so then we would need a motion to. We need to amend the counter offer,
I just need a motion to approve the counter offer subject to. What was your terminology? No conditions on the,
That satisfactory, I mean, basically it's under staff review with the engineer, it is satisfactory soil boring test.
no, Andy had some legal.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
First, before we do that. If, as Chad just said, you find out that soil boring has already been conducted. And they have an engineer's report revealing that there are no conditions. May I assume in that case that you would not require additional repeat soil borings?
Yeah, as long as there's proof it was done.
Okay, so then maybe motion to approve the counter offer subject to either adding a contingency to allow soil borings and determining that no conditions exist, or receipt of adequate assurances suggestive that no conditions exist from previous testing.
can you repeat that?
All right, so Matt, you wanna make his motion?
You're not repeating what I said.
Just
So,
say so moved.
motion to approve the counter offer with the additional condition that either the village receives satisfactory soil boring results, that there's no conditions on the facility. That are satisfactory to our engineer and staff.
There's a second by Julie. Any discussion? All right, vote to ballot. Let the record show the motion carried unanimously. All right, good to go. Okay. Next is up authorization to authorize staff to apply with the Board Land Commissioners of Public Land and Trust to obtain a TID loan for the purchase of this land.
Make a motion to approve. Program we're doing.
To authorize staff to apply for the loan. So the motion's to approve to authorize staff to apply for the loan.
But there'll be documents that come back. So we just want to make sure that the board is on board with okay. Make the application.
Right. Second by Scott. Any further discussion? Vote to ballot. Okay, the motion is carried unanimously. Okay, good. All right, awarding the contract for $437,809.30. Does it really have to be 30 cents? These guys can't round up. To MCC Inc. for resurfacing of Blazing Meadows subdivision. What is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to award the contract for $437,890.30 to MCC Inc. for resurfacing of Blazing Meadows subdivision.
I'll second it.
Second by Mike. Ted?
I just want to mention that in the last page in the document is the actual bid for budget the construction ending portion of those projects, so we don't have to go further detail, but there is still substantial money left. And particularly because we received a grant for $800,000 for state road. But I guess what staff is feeling is we have a lot of projects on our plate now to get done this summer, and our recommendation would be to just hold those funds because we're gonna have additional project costs next year for sure with the Hain Heights subdivision and the Cedar Ridge, and then the normal stuff, so we felt that we just wanted to inform the board that there is savings. We've gotten a lot of good bid pricing this year. We've got a lot of work to get done, and we're intending to do that, but we will have savings carried over to the next year.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second to approve the contract to MCC. Any other discussion? Vote your ballot. Let the record show the motion's carried unanimously. Okay, we are up to Scott Construction, Kessler Road. Motion to approve the low bid for Scott's Construction for $23,750 to double chip seal. And that's being recommended as a means of. Ted, you want to go through this?
Yeah, so this road is rated like a 2 or 3 in the PACER, and it's really a road between two marshes or swamps, if you know, and the Department of Public Works spends a lot of time maintaining this road, trying to keep it somewhat level. It's all gravel now, and every time it rains, they're having to go up there and drain it. So we came up with a solution, and in the non-engineering terms, I had said to Lee about doing an extra heavy chip seal. I guess it's called double chip seal in the engineering, but are recommending that as a means of trying to minimize the amount of maintenance that has to be done. What I would say is this road is shared with the village of Sherwood, and I've been in contact with the interim village manager over there about them sharing it with us. They haven't heard anything. I think it's going to their next board meeting. Whatever they decide, we'll go with, present it to them, and we'll see where that is. But I think at any rate, it's a solution for trying to minimize the amount of maintenance this thing on a yearly basis.
Mark?
Is Sherwood helping us with these costs at all?
Like I said, I sent an email out to the Diane, the interim manager,
Yeah.
with the numbers and asked for a contribution.
So my concern here. This from a taxpayer village of Harrison. Is that they are redoing their wastewater facility out there for $12.5 million. Because it's way undersized. So all the outflows from that brand new $12.5 million facility has to come through this area over that road or under that. So I am concerned about future outflows from that brand new $12.5 million sewage facility where that has to come through here. And I'm wondering if we if they should be paying a bigger charge on, because it's the water flow outflows from that current facility that puts a big demand on that road that we're currently taking care of, that needs to be taken into account going forward in the future.
Good information, so we'll use our initiation.
Thank you.
Matt?
Thank you. So looking at the blue here. Only a small portion of that is Sherwood, right, by where they have their weight here out of yard waste. For the very beginning, there's a couple hundred feet that's shared with all Harrison.
Well, it's actually split.
Is the whole thing split all the way down though?
Well, not quite all the way down,
That's
but it
where
is.
the probes, that's Harrison, correct? Or that's
Woodville.
That's one called Frugal. So it goes just past the swamp and then there's a change. Just to the east.
So are we going into Woodville at all, or probes and all that, or not? No. All the way, the whole thing, half of it Sherwood, half of it ours.
Close, yes. I mean, we're real close.
So do they, when you have to go out there and grade, are they helping us with any of that, or we eat all that?
They come out once in a while. Scott will go down there once in a great while with the skid loader, but that's a skid loader. I mean, when they're in the pothole, you gotta cut them into the plate.
So what were we proposing a half split, or what was proposed? Yeah.
Hold the press.
Okay, but I'm gonna make a motion to approve this subject to Sherwood paying half the cost of this.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion. If Sherwood says no, and they're not gonna kick in their half, then our road crew is stuck putting in all these hours fixing the road anyway.
Take care of our half then. It's just the way it is. Why should we pay for our community stuff? That's not right. And if they're not willing to be a willing partner to share $10,000, we have a much bigger issue. I would hope that with us passing this on that condition that we would go to there and they would be willing to pay their half. I mean, that. But then there's a lot of other issues that news media can get involved in all kinds of different things, but they're not willing to be a willing partner to that. I mean, that's where we're not asking for a whole lot here.
Yeah, how realistic is that to just take care of half of the road?
Well, if you drive down the road, you gotta turn around back.
Yeah, but you don't have to grade their half, right? I mean, really,
So, I mean,
I hope it wouldn't come to that. I mean,
I don't
we're
think
trying to
that-
work together.
I honestly don't think that. It ain't so. Really, working.
I mean, we can either be really, really, really petty. Or we can say at the next meeting, well, Sherwood were cheapskates and didn't kick in their $10,000. Okay, I mean, do we wanna look like we're being super petty ourselves? Or do we want,
Our taxpayers should not be paying for another municipality, I'm sorry. We already paid for a lot with our fire department up there, where they're not, they don't pay their fair share of that, which is a whole other discussion, but anyway, it's.
We'll just chip seal our side of the way.
All right, I mean, whatever, we shouldn't. We shouldn't be paying for our municipality. And I would, like I said, I think we worry about that when the time comes here too. Let's let our staff go
Let me see what I can do.
and negotiate this and let's see where it goes.
okay, the motion is not to screw Sherwood. The motion is to approve the low bid with Scott Construction for $23,700.
No one,
That's the motion.
no, my motion, no one's trying to mess anybody over. We're responsible for what's in our municipality. We are not responsible for our municipality. So again, my motion is to approve the low bid, subject to Sherwood paying their half.
Yeah, and we have a second.
Well, and we have a second, so we can vote. If you don't like that option, that's fine. You can vote nay. But that's what's right and fair. Again, I'm looking out for our taxpayers. We need to look out for our taxpayers that voted us. We're not accountable to Sherwood's taxpayers. And we're being fair. We're trying to take care of our part. We're saying we're willing to take care of our part. They do their being good neighbors. And if they're not want to be a good neighbor of ours, there's gonna be bigger issues probably.
Ready to vote your ballot? All right, vote your ballot. Doing? All right, let the record show the motion's carried with 1 nay. All right. Okay, acceptance of the Wisconsin DNR recycling grant for $21,857.52. And this is a recurring grant that we get annually, correct?
Motion to accept the Wisconsin DNR recycling grant. $1,857.
Okay.
Second by Matt. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Vote ballot. Vote ballot. Let the record show the motion's carried unanimously. All right, resolution B 2024-03, supporting and approving the new Appleton Fox Cities MPO Policy Board Structure and Redesignation Agreement. This was brought to the board. Chad, I'm gonna let you go through this because it's a kind of lengthy discussion. But it's a federal requirement. This isn't something East Central wanted to do. They're being required to do it. And we're under a deadline, if I recall, right, Chad, to get this done?
Yeah, so basically, the DOT provides funding to the regional planning commissions, and this area is the Central Regional Planning Commission, they manage all the transportation for the farming, and for the entire 18 member community, or communities. So the DOT is forcing them to do a bylaw change and then come up with this policy board that would be made up of chief elected official from these 28 cities and villages and towns. And basically what they're looking for is support from each of the cities, villages and towns to advance this. And it's really, like the chair said, it's under a deadline by the state DOT and it applies to future DOT funding, so it makes sense for us, so when the staff is recommending who will be in that resolution.
Questions, comments? Scott?
So I appreciate that, we're part of the East Planning Commission, but I have spoken to state DOT multiple times, and they have zero plans to do any infrastructure in this quadrant here, so I'm gonna put against, just not comfortable, so that's all I gotta say. Until we can see some funding instead of Appleton getting $100 million for an airport for 3 flights a day, and they get $40 million to do a 4-lane highway out to Hortonville, which there's nothing in Hortonville. I am against it. East Planning Commission is not done us any favors, so I'm just gonna vote no. Thank you.
Here again, this isn't something East Central wanted to do. This is something they are being required to do.
And why even have us vote to it? if we're
Well-
required to do it?
If we want a seat at the table, we have to sign on. If you don't want a seat at the table, that's fine. Matt,
So my only concern with this is I don't think they should be telling us who we want to represent. It should be, a community should be able to vote to represent who they want to go. That should be proper procedures, especially when you look at village statutes for villages. State guidelines and state statutes indicate that as a village, each one of us are equal and considered as a trustee. And so we should be able to, perhaps we would nominate the president to go attend, but that should be on their board to be making that choice. So if they want to do this, as far as I'm concerned, I have no problem with them doing this, but they need to change their makeup here to say it's up to the community of who they vote to represent, send to it. So until that's changed, I'm voting no.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve resolution B 2024-03, supporting and approving a new Appleton MPOP policy board structure and designation.
I'll second by Darlene. You guys can vote against this, but that means there's no seat at the table and there's no opportunity to even change their policy. Because if you don't have a seat at the table, then you've got.
Doesn't matter, we don't get any funding here anyway.
I'm
got
just-
denied money. And the state DOT doesn't have any money for us to.
Don't,
do
what
the
I
infrastructure.
what I
Why you
don't-
can be part of it?
I'm
I don't need to, don't like, they don't like falsities being thrown around at these meetings without facts. I live in facts. Facts are important. Just because we say we don't like how they're currently restructuring it, doesn't mean we don't have a seat at the table. It means we send a message back to them saying, you need to think about how you're doing your makeup. That's all I'm saying. I'm not against them doing this, but it should be up to the community to decide who they're sending to represent. It's not fair to the community. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
There's a motion and a second on the table to approve. Are you ready to vote your ballot?
I already voted.
All right. Let the record show the motion has carried 4 ayes to 3 nays. All right, I guess. we're gonna see the table. All right, moving on. We have the 2024-2025 alcohol liquor license renewals, and Vicky checked everybody, or no one has any pass-through taxes or outstanding invoices. And recommends approval of all the requests on the second page. What is your pleasure? Matt?
Make a motion to approve all liquor license renewal applications as presented for the 2024-2025 licensing year.
So I get you. Is there a second for the motion? Is there a second for the motion?
I just have a question. Wasn't this automatic, Vicky, for you to just do them?
Bartenders, yes. The actual liquor licenses have to be approved by the board.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just confused.
Bartenders, I take care.
Okay, second by Mark. Matt, you got a comment?
My only question is, has this list been shared with law enforcement to make sure they have no concerns?
No. It's been posted, it's been published.
But we checked with our law
Not
enforcement, make
been-
sure there's no concerns with any of these establishments.
The background checks were done. I did not do a background check specific. If it didn't show up on CCAP or the Wisconsin Department of Justice, I did not
Not on
check.
the people. I'm asking, not on the people, but my question is, and maybe, I don't know how to put you on the spot, you know, so. Is, have we had any issues with anything at any of these establishments? That's my question. Probably not. I'm just making sure. In due diligence.
Lieutenant Joe, you're on the spot.
Excuse me, we have not had, any issues, one did not pass one of our compliance checks. However, the, server did complete the responsible, were cited, and they did, complete a responsible service.
So then your answer is you have no problem with anyone on this list. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
So there's a motion and a second to approve. Work to ballot. Doing,
Vicky just got on her, yeah, this is.
probably need
Maybe needs new batteries.
new batteries. There you go. There you
Yay,
go.
thanks, Mark.
Way to go, Mark. Let the record show the motion's carried unanimously. Okay, you have the study, the findings from the hospitality study that we contracted with. And bottom line is that possibly in the future, but not at this time. Any questions or comments? There's no action to be taken. This was for discussion only. And maybe something we bring back at a later date. Unless you guys have a question or something you'd like to. Julie?
Yeah, no, I think, given that we're just embarking on the commercial development, it's not, it's like the chicken or the egg. I don't think both on fire. Dancing to go out on a limb and just build something and expect people to come. I want people to be there, so it's really, I think we just gotta get going on our commercial development and then can we just.
I just want to say thank you for doing this. I think it was really innovative and it didn't come back the way you know, but good for you.
At least we don't spend any more time and resources on finding anything. We know that time isn't right here before the suburbs. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Update on the RFQs, and now Chad and Jared went on a couple field trips. Looking at fire stations, and you've got a few more to go, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, talking.
So Jerry and I are not coming forward with a recommendation for the public safety building project yet, as you can see in the arrow. We did receive a number of proposals, 7 or 8 of them. And what we're doing, we narrowed the list down and are going out and doing inspections of those facilities because no offense to the consultants in the room, but they put pretty stuff on papers and try to sell their services. And until we actually get on the ground and talk with the fire department leaders and the folks in those municipalities and find out how the project went, if they had any issues, lessons learned, all kinds of things, we really find out, kind of the crux of it. So we have been to Fort Atkinson, which was a Keller facility, and we have been to the city of Toronto, which was an SEH facility. We're going to be heading over to Greenville, which is a biofuels facility, and being in touch with a few other ones. Well, so we are asking the board for another couple weeks so that we can get through going out there and making sure we're doing our due diligence and we can give a really good recommendation and kind of move forward from that point for proposal of who the board should consider for hiring for this position. So our goal was to get back to you now, but The proposals came in on the 20th, and we really feel the need to go and meet with the chiefs of each one of those stations of the submitters to make sure we're making the most constructive decision we can going forward.
So then we're looking at the June 28th meeting as
That's
making a decision. Any questions, Matt?
Just want to say I want to applaud both of you for doing due diligence and looking forward to the recommendation.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Okay, we'll look forward to that, the June meeting then. Okay, draft referendum with increasing the levy limit in lieu of borrowing for road maintenance. So there's a fairly Adam's here to explain his bottom line. And that your recommendation is to wait until the reval in 2026, correct?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely some options for the board to consider. And number one, a referendum is one of the multiple tools that you have in your tool belt. When it comes to considering what is the best for obviously I don't know the village, but your constituents. So one of the things that I was kind of tasked with was looking through Manager Heiser's kind of calculations that he looked at. We had a conference call, kind of went through what he was looking at. Pretty much from what I can see, you know, he was using the levy limit worksheet. I didn't see anything that jumped out at me as incorrect or something that I wouldn't have done if I was in his chair. So what that calculation kind of came to is roughly about between $625,000 and about $688,000 is what you theoretically could ask in a referendum to exceed your neighborhood. That could be essentially earmarked for roads. Now, some of the considerations that you have to make, because I know in the last meeting I was at, I think there's about $1.5 million of roads. So a lot of the questions that you need to think about as a board is kind of, you know, when you're talking about referendums, and this is when I was an administrator, you know, I would coach my councils and boards, you got to think about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so play it out in your bed. If you go to referendum and it doesn't pass, what do? This is some of the things we're working right now with. We just actually started working with the city of Green Lake, and they just recently went to an operational referendum to try to get about just under $800,000. It failed. So now they're kind of going through the process of what does that mean? You know, and basically they're looking at potentially going back out to referendum again, looking at different options. So I think those are all things that, you know, certainly you want to keep having this discussion and start to think about. So I know one of the concerns came into issuance costs, which again is not only varied, but that's talking about when you go out for debt, your issuance costs include Moody's, which is your rating, your Quarles and Brady, which is the bond council, you know, where a portion of that all plays into that. So some of the things we certainly could look at is, as it was kind of talked about long-term vision planning for the village, is there are municipalities that we're working with that kind of go into now, they borrow every 2 years to try to reduce those issuance costs. So that way then they look at and kind of set a number and go, okay, whether it's 1.5 million, whether it's 1 million, whatever, it's whatever the kind of the village board you guys would determine, we can kind of model that out. And now my understanding is some of the reasons that the village has always kind of done in every year borrowing is due to the goal of trying to stick to that mill rate number, about 349. And the reason we do that is because we then can kind of structure the principal and interest payments to be able to meet that particular mark every year. If we go to a 2-year borrowing, one of the things we would have to kind of play with a little bit is we're going to be able to really nail down year 1. Year 2 is going to be an estimate because we don't know what the equalized value is going to be. It could be high, it could be low, we don't know. So that's one of the things that, you know, would be kind of a caveat we want to play with that. The other concern that kind of came up in the conversations is you are going to be going through a reevaluation year in 2025. I have experience with this in the city of Platteville, so we had this happen in basically one of my last years there. We had a reevaluation and also the school district was going out for a referendum. So what happened there is residents kind of got sacked twice, basically, because right now, just kind of looking at your numbers, your equalized value is about 1.7 billion, your assessed value is 1.3. So generally, when you go through a reevaluation, your assessor tries to kind of even it out and get it closer to where it is for market value. So one of the concerns that I think we kind of talked about as staff and also myself from the consulting side was that potentially if your goal is to stay at that 349, you're gonna have a taxpayer essentially see, if you stay at that, they may see an increase just from the reevaluation, because now their property's worth more and they're being taxed. So either you would have to reduce your mill rate in order to keep it flat, if that is the goal of the board. Or potentially in this situation now, if you go to referendum, they're gonna get hit twice. They're gonna have the reevaluation, and then they would have whatever kind of the potential referendum is. So I think one of the options that would make sense is, referendums are certainly a conversation that I think continues to need to be had. But one of the concerns would be potentially delaying this until 2026 after the reevaluation has occurred. That way, then you kind of know where things stand as far as your evaluation, and we can kind of do some better kind of mapping. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't continue to run whatever the request is the board as far as analysis, but that was just kind of the conversation we had with staff, and was kind of the consensus between staff and ourselves.
Matt?
Thank you. So I appreciate the detailed analysis. This is the first we've heard about borrowing 2 years at a time. So that was very good. And I do believe that we should go with the staff recommendation here of not doing our referendum at this time, make sure we're clearing the roads. And I think we need to look at this too. Borrowing to save those issuance costs. And also, as we go through a reevaluation, reevaluation does not mean individual taxes are going up. What it means is we know our assessed values are going to be significantly higher than what they are now. So as a board, we need to make sure that we're taking into account those increased assessed values and adjust the bill rate accordingly. That if someone's property, you gotta find the averages, right? But really, if the average increase, that should be our target, essentially, to make sure we're kind of, if we're still trying to do what we've been doing. And that the person will only see a tax increase if their assessment went more than the average. So one of my questions, and I don't know, Adam, if you know this, or Vicky, if you check into this, for that second year, that's where it gets a little trickier. But what qualifies on the levy limit worksheet, where if we did need a small fill-in loan or something, could you borrow from the trust fund or something and pay that back in a year or something weird? Interest cost there and still meeting goals.
I don't know what the interest would be.
But the question again last board meeting was, what qualifies?
Qualified.
Did you get the answer that I asked for?
Okay, so there are municipalities that do that, where they'll do kind of a short-term kind of gap loan, basically, with the local bank to try to cover it. It's not uncommon. Hopefully, the long-term goal would be to get it to a point where you don't have to do that, because then it's, you have all these additional loans, which again, it's more time for staff to keep track of. But it is not uncommon that I've seen municipalities go down that road.
And I know there's a certain time period, but because certain loans don't qualify, versus other ones do. So I think as for tonight's purposes, I'll just say I'm not in favor of doing this referendum, then this advice makes sense. But I also, if we get into budget time, that I really ask for us to really make sure we have all of our options, and that we understand fully the rules and what qualifies and what doesn't. So we can make sure we're looking at all of our options. Because for me, there's some other options, perhaps a long-term borrowing, coupled with knowing we have another option for a smaller amount if needed. And again, unfortunately, these levy limits, that the legislature is really tied our hands, and I really wish the state legislature would change the rules, because it's just costing everybody money at the end of the day. But it is what it is.
Well, I'd like to have a motion that we are going to postpone any discussion of a referendum until after the rebill. So it'd be 2026 before we'd have a.
Well, I don't even know if we do it then. I'll just table it, right?
Yeah.
It's really, we can just table it. And we can bring it up anytime, so I'll make a motion to table this. Agenda item until today.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All right, vote ballot. Mark, got push button. There you go. Okay, motion's carried to table until whenever. All right, very good. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay. Andy, ordinance B 2407. Repealing and recreating municipal code, chapter 19, rewarding wind regarding wind energy systems.
Okay, I mean. Oh, Dan. This is,
Thanks, Dan.
take a while. Won't take long. Andy and I had a call jointly, with Marty. Was asked to do that, Marty was with farmland. We went into this call thinking, what in the heck is Marty seeing in the statute that we're not seeing? And why do they think this can be justified? And wanted to give him a chance to defend what we thought was his work. Marty didn't defend it at all. In fact, he was very quick to retreat and indicated that he didn't draft it, that the website that he helps run is just sort of a bulletin board for ideas that other municipalities have used. Some good, some bad, but wanted all ideas on the table for consideration for possible future development into something that might work. Indicated that that particular model ordinance was drafted by a couple of smaller towns, which is why I kept referring to towns and taking control away from county zoning. It doesn't apply here at all. So if this was presented to the board, anybody on the board, as a, off the shelf, ready to adopt ordinance, it certainly wasn't. In my opinion, a lot of it didn't even make sense. Now, you do need something, in my opinion, and right now you have nothing. There are, as the board is aware, the PSC did convene a group of experts, whether you like them or not, whether you like the results or not, come back with some health and safety regulations, and it's codified in the Public Service Commission, Public Service Commission section of the administrative code. There's a lot of health and safety determinations and a lot of setback requirements and such that GSC has come up with. They're doing a lot of work. Maybe it's not as much as you'd like, but the state says you can't adopt anything more stringent than what they have. But why do you want to adopt that? Because right now you have nothing. And this administrative code says that the PSC doesn't even regulate its own rules unless you adopt an ordinance that adopts their rules. So you need something enforceable. Right now you have nothing. Incidentally, I'm told, I don't know if it's the exact towns, but 2 towns, already indicated this, 2 towns that adopted, who went to the loan, so to speak, would be come to be known as the Farmlands First ordinance are now getting sued. So I think you're gonna have an answer pretty soon. But I think you guys need to do the same thing and have something, whereas right now you have nothing. And it does contain health and safety regulations. Maybe not quite as stringent as you'd like. State's already said no. Do you have any questions? I think a lot of it is already normal.
But one of the other things I would mention is we had as staff a big concern about being experts and trying to review these applications. So a big piece of this revised ordinance from the last time you saw this was putting in some clause that would charge the applicant a fee to have an outside company that would be our expert. So we would contract with somebody on the other side to review it, take it through the process, and ultimately make a recommendation as to how to move forward with it. And it takes the onus off of right now myself and Josh to be the experts on wind towers and making sure we're doing what's in the best interest for the residents. So I think having that clause in there helps in our standpoint of agreeing with this. It's basically the recommendation is to review and recreate the entire wind system section that's in our current code with the one that's in your package.
So you're looking for us to adopt this tonight?
Yes.
That would be the right.
That was your request to me to bring us through something.
Right.
So
I make a motion for V 24-07, repealing and recreating municipal code, chapter 19 regarding wind energy systems.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion a second to approve.
I only have a question.
Yeah.
Is there anything in this ordinance fee wise, or is really the fee strictly dictated by the next item that we're going to be discussing about the fee and penalty schedule, because I have a question on the fee, but if it doesn't directly apply to the ordinance and reference, if it's more reference just the fee chart itself, then I can make it like and go.
The fee doesn't, we don't establish the fee in the ordinances, whatever it's gonna cost, and then it's requiring them to pay 50% down, and then it's starting and remaining.
Because in the packet here, we've got we have an item that says wind energy system application fee at $1,000 plus reasonable expenses.
Yeah, now you can adopt, the idea is that you can amend that every year along with all of your other, things. So you don't want that to go in your code.
Okay, so that's why I wanted to make sure not look on the fee itself.
Correct, just the.
Right, that can wait till the next thing.
This addresses costs, right?
And I do want to clarify one thing, we're limited by actually how much we can charge, correct? I mean, we can't charge $1 million for them to apply. It has to be what the state deems as reasonable, correct? So it has to be a reasonable cost, so we're not allowed to, we can't change this fee to like $5,000 or something like that.
Correct. Their goal would be to go and find somebody that can do this before get a feel for what it's gonna look like and ensure that it's, they're communicating.
We've already made some calls. I have contacts with, I don't think McMahon does this, but there's a company in Madison called Strand that specializes in, or has a division that specializes in cellular array towers on water, right? So we reached out to them, they not signed up for this duty yet, but they're coming up with a list of names, and there are some others too. I think Mass Tech is one of them. You heard of them? Well,
Okay, but my statement was that it has to be a reasonable fee. It can't be something that we just pull out of the air and guess.
that is true. The idea is that most of the review, most of your costs can pass through directly from a private contract.
Correct.
So your staff fee can be relatively tremendous.
So basically, whatever the contractor charges is what our fee needs to be, plus a little bit more.
Change it.
We can update.
So,
Matt,
but we're actually kind of contradicting ourselves a little bit, what I just heard. I'm gonna look at this a little closer. Page 235 of the packet
Vicky just brought it up.
actually has an amount there. Shouldn't that not have an amount? And it should be subject to the fee schedule, so we don't have to go amend the ordinance?
So that's a good amendment. Let's, may I recommend that you. Did we made a motion yet?
I did.
Okay.
yeah,
Perhaps made a
there-
motion
there's-
to amend.
Actually, someone can right now actually add that amendment. We vote on the amendment and then we.
I'm gonna make a motion to amend the wind energy ordinance, page 235 of the packet, page 2 of the ordinance. To say that the estimate shall be in the village fee and penalty schedule, set a dollar amount there.
yeah. Okay.
Somebody else gave us the second one.
I'll second it.
Well, you can't.
Mark a second, so. We gotta let Vicky get caught up here.
Sorry.
Okay.
Vote.
So about the amendment, Scott made the motion.
I made the motion to amend it.
So we do the amendment first and then we do the main
Okay, Matt,
motion with the
and
amendment.
Matt made the motion, and then, okay, so,
So the first one is just to do the amending, section
add
119-5B, reference the fee and penalty schedule for stating a dollar amount.
correct. All right, vote your ballot.
What's going on with buttons today?
Yeah, they're.
Yeah,
It's not working very well. Okay. All right, so the amendment to the motion passed unanimously. So now we are to the original motion. Are you prepared to vote your ballot? Vote your ballot. And so the motion is carried unanimously. Very good. So we are protected. All right, so then we're moving on to. The fee schedule is after this one. Okay. All right, discussion of road impact fees. There's a fairly lengthy discussion here. And again, in summary, it looks like a road impact fee would be expensive and a lot of work to internally administer. So based on The attorney's recommendation is to not pursue the fee at this time, correct, Andy?
No, I think we are.
No, we are, so. Recommendation to me was that it sounded like the. And that, it would be very convoluted to try to figure out trip generations to terminate this. And a lot of burden on staff to implement something like this, so your recommendation, I think, was not to proceed.
I thought you said the fee.
Yeah, well, we jumped the shark a little bit on you,
Got it.
Andy, because we jumped from the wind fees to the road
Impact. fees.
impact fees. So I kind of jumped that. So the recommendation was to not do a road impact fee at this.
Now that it's this particular, item,
Yeah.
I don't recommend.
You don't recommend it.
Not now, see what that's up. And
In future lawsuits or whatever, because there's a couple lawsuits pending. Okay, Scott,
So again, the whole idea here was not tax. This was fee for when a building permit gets taken out. There's a fire impact fee. We have a parks impact fee. We also have a police impact fee, which is basically just money collected in lieu of future parks and future fire needs, right? So the idea was, if we're converting country roads into city arteries, main drag, there should be a cost associated with that, that we should be able to, as a village, say, if you are a person and you're getting a building permit, you should have to provide a impact fee for changing that country road into a urbanized road with curb and gutter and trails and stuff, right? So, or whatever. That, I think maybe you might have misinterpreted what we're trying to do here, but that's kind of what we're trying to do.
no, I understand that. I just misinterpreted what agenda.
Oh, okay. But so I guess I'm not understanding why you feel it would be a tariff, because it's not a tax, it's not a wheel tax, it's not a transportation fee, it's tied to new construction, which you could easily tie costs to upgrading roads, which we already do on several other facets of future community needs.
That was
So,
sort of tongue in cheek. It's nothing like a TARP, although it's I think unless you go through all the criteria under 66061776. It is, I think it's likely to fail, right? And you need to, I assume that you've gone through the criteria, it needs to be a very rational relationship to the need for new expanded or improved public facilities that are required to serve the land. So first and foremost, you can't take a worn out road and replace it with a nice one. It needs to be very specific items related to the new development. But I see.
well, Darlene's got a question.
I was just, what country roads are you talking about that we've done?
so Schmidt Road is a country road. Before we put Kimber Heights on one side, we had Meadows on the other, it's a country road. It's gonna have to be urbanized. If we keep adding developments, that road will have to get dropped. It'll have to get tore up, dropped down a foot, right? You're gonna have to put piping in to put storm sewer in, right? Roads and expand the road, because it's not an urbanized road, it's a country road. At some point, it has to be upgraded. Because right now, all the development going on Manitowoc and Woodland, taxpayers are gonna end up having to up the bill for it. And so I am concerned, I want people moving here. You wanna move here, convert that off of a country road. People who want to build here should pay for it. I shouldn't, or anybody else who's lived here for 20 years should have to pay for upgrading a country road, because that's expensive. We're talking millions of dollars, millions. And I'm just trying to be diligent for taxpayers, that if we already do it for the police, we already do it for the parks, we already do it for if we know what the cost is of a road, Lee here could probably settle pretty quickly how much it's gonna take to convert a country road like Manitowoc Road into a fully urbanized, a street.
But you don't know until you have development projects proposed. But my point in talking to,
Oh, we could get the cost of that road. Quick, so that if the developer does wanna put in. We have that cost of that road, we can say, oh. Impact because it's still a country road, and if you want to develop here, you're gonna have to pay for your portion of your section that you're developing off of.
I'm not saying that this would never work. I'm saying you need to have a list of projects ready to go that you can refer to specifically and that have some sort of rational relationship to the projects that are being considered, the projects that you're constructing the roads for. That's something that Sun Prairie had. I did not infer from my conversation with Chad that you have a list of projects ready to go.
Well,
but
so unfortunately, then not all the information got back to you, Andy, and there's a lot of people's plates, so it's not Chad's fault. So I don't want to be clear of that. A lot on the plate, and a lot of things here. We do actually have already cost estimates, because we've been trying to get funding for it. We know what it's going to cost to urbanize Manitowoc Road between N and Lake Park. That's already been, inflation, things change, so the numbers might need to get updated, but in our 5-year road plan, we actually have those numbers. And what I'm concerned about, again, looking out for the people that already live here. Schmidt Road is too late, unfortunately, because those subdivisions are already there. And at some point in time, everybody lives in Harrison. This is everybody that currently lives in Harrison, rural and urban. This isn't just a Starway thing either. This is our rural farmers that I'm also trying to look out for. Will have to pay, upgrade Schmidt from a rural, narrow country road to an urban road. Now it's too late there. You already got the subdivision. It is what it is. Over past mistakes by previous boards, in my opinion, but anyway. Point being, it's not funny there, money. This is serious money that our people that live out here are having to pay and will have to pay in some serious future things here. Serious. We're out of, we have. The figure was around $8 million. I don't have the exact, don't pick the wrong plan from mine, but I remember my memory, it's about $8 million. We are probably pretty close to see it's
2 miles.
Yeah, it's a lot. See, so there we go. I'm right here tonight, guys. Yes. I'm not done. So when you look at point being here, there is significant residential development being looked at on the south side of Manitowoc Road. By Woodland School, between Woodland School and that stretch in there. Where Noy Road's gonna get punched in as well as over between Manitowoc and Lake Park. Or I'm sorry, between Manitowoc and Woodland. All several hundred houses. Manitowoc Road is a very narrow rural road built about 100 years ago. It already can't handle the traffic that it has on it. And if we are going to add houses, which we talked about wanting some residential yet, we'll actually agree that that area of residential makes sense because again, you're filling in. But we need to make sure that when we allow these developments to happen that fill in, they need to pay their fair share. People out here who live here should not have to pay their fair share. Shouldn't have to be paying for that. They pay their fair share for what's already here, but they shouldn't have to be paying for these new developments. Now, there's gonna have to be some math. There's no doubt. Because what's gonna have to get figured out is what's the cost of just repaving the road. Because that's right, you can't put just repaving the road as an impact fee, that's maintenance, I agree. But you sure can figure out, we have Lee here, who's a very experienced engineer. I guarantee he can figure out, okay, if you just repave the road in the existing state, which will not convert to new traffic, if you fully develop all that, he can tell us that cost versus here's your cost to fully urbanize the road. That difference is your impact. And then you have an impact fee on those buildings. People want to build their houses out here. They're paying their fair share versus the rest of the taxpayers already live here have to do it. And you have to spend, yes, you have to have the project identified, that's right. You have to know, and you have to do the project. There's also in state statutes that if you don't use the money, I believe in 7 years, that it gets returned. So you have to have the project plan and you have to actually do the project. You can't just collect money just to collect money. That, if I look at all these points here. About point A, rational relationship to the need for new, expanded, or improved public facilities that are required to serve the land development. Well, changing the road from a narrow rural road to an urbanized road to support the traffic, we can definitely prove that relationship. And I can go on and on here, certainly can meet these requirements.
Okay, I got a question, Andy.
Okay.
How would this impact be different than a special assessment? Because it seems to me if we want to make the people that are gonna be adjacent to this expanded urban road pay for it, why wouldn't we just special assess, which is a process we already have?
A special assessment could apply to all property owners. This impact fee would only apply to developers. At least. Yeah.
Well, one of the differences here is, I guess it'll depend on the outcome of a lawsuit that the village is currently in the middle of. Is we're being sued for a special assessment because they claim they didn't benefit from it. So as you special assess things.
Same is gonna be true for an impact.
So yeah, that's where the impact fee, where you prove out
So
what you're doing.
being sued by anybody.
On Woodland Road, yes, we are. Creekside.
Oh, for those
We were
four
certain
houses.
four houses, those four houses, all right. Then why wouldn't they object to an impact fee? as
Oh,
well?
yeah, if they want, if they would, because you do it right, it's all laid well.
If they wanted to build a house, they'd have to pay the
land. Also, how before they even buy the lot.
It's not after the fact, after they build, then you specially assess. So what we're trying to do is trying to cut the money up front. So if, hey, you wanna live here? Here's your cost. Right now, I'm sorry, but the reason why development's coming out here is because other communities are charging a lot more money to build in their communities versus here in Harrison. I'm sorry, people who are taxpayers here are on the hook for all the police, the fire, because and the road upgrades and all that stuff. And I think we're gonna have to draw a line. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say no more residential until we start figuring out how we can offload the cost of road repairs to the people who are coming here instead of having the people who've lived here for 20, 30 years have to pay for it.
Because the problem is, one could say too, sure, these new developments are gonna pay property taxes. But again, we have a low tax rate in at 349 per thousand. Our current people that live out here are going in the red. They're not, the tax budget do not sustain all these projects. That's why we haven't upgraded Manitowoc yet already on the other part, being already more developed because of the cost. We're hoping to get grant money, which grant money is still tax money, it's just comes out of someone else's pocket, still tax money in the end too, but.
So if you guys wanna do this, you need to do a public facility need assessment. Sun Prairie use Baker Tilly. That's it. That's not a 3-week process, that's probably.
What was that term again you said?
What's that?
What was the term you just said?
Public facilities need assessment. It's part of it's a requirement under the statute, if you're going to impose an impact.
Would that be something that could be included in the comprehensive plan?
And highly, no, very special, it'd be like higher. But for a very complex project.
We had talked to Baker, and that's where Sun Prairie, they don't have any experience doing a road impact. That's where the Sun Prairie came from. I think I talked to me, and McMahon has any experience, and the answer is no. So the question is gonna be, you need to find something that can help us do this public.
Baker Tilly is a county.
Yeah, I know.
So Ehlers, we have to do the same thing for the fire impact fee. That's how we have money, big chunk of money for some public safety concerns that we need to solve.
Right.
And the law enforcement fee as well as our park impact fee. Ehlers did all that, did that same public needs facility and they did a lot of math. And even the fees even had a multiplier in there figured out for inflation there, and we just adjusted those fees because again, that was all done right, all built in. So that's where I asking for here is Yes, we do, right, there's a, you're right, this isn't gonna happen in 3 weeks, but. the Reason why we asked this to be on the agenda was so we can approve. That's. It might be a year process. So it could be, but you gotta start somewhere.
So what you're talking about, what Sunbury did is 100 times what you've done for fire protection or any of the other impacts. And that's my point. I've never seen it used on this scale before. So as a essential replacement for special assessments, this is the first time I've seen it used to that extent, where the entire urbanization of a road, you're trying to dissect what is curing existing deficiencies, not just rebuilding a road that exists to 1920 spec, but to also solve the deficiencies that have become evident over the last 50 years as the municipality has grown. Somehow you gotta draw a line there on every project. And is Sun Prairie going to get it right? Time will tell. That was why I recommended maybe we want to wait and see how it goes with Sun Prairie. But if you do want to go ahead with this, it will be a little bit novel. You'll be at the front end. You'll like TARP. Like TARP will be a pioneer.
There's some risk to that.
Right, there is some risk with that, and that's where TARP 2.0 came from. You're going well above and beyond what the traditional use of impact fees has been in the past. And there is some risk and a lot of expense.
But as
And-
long as, but I do believe though, if we have the cost of the road. Because we're not gonna charge any more than what the cost of the road, we're not making bank here, right? We're just talking about upgrading the road, talking about. You know, as we move growth, right, we're offloading the taxpayers' burden and putting it on to those who are wanting to move here, just like anything else that you do, right? I mean,
In theory, it's a great idea, just a lot of work, and we don't know if it's going to work when applied to this extent.
And here again, you've already contradicted first two steps, because you can't take an existing road. And as you just said, Scott, upgrade it and use a TARP for that. Here again, I think if you really guys, if you want to do that, I think we're better off to do special assessments, and we can do special assessments on new development and have it on every lot. I think the problem with the last, what happened before with that Woodland Road
special
stuff.
assessments only for the roads that are being put in, not for converting.
Well,
A country road into,
But if you're urbanizing, if you're,
only
if you're,
those who live on it, not the whole subdivision.
but if you're,
Well, that's not true. There's two.
Well, we
types
would have
of-
to use our special police powers.
if you're doing a special assessment, you're using police power. Promise, because otherwise you're going to lose. Every special assessment these days exercises police power. But the way to calculate it typically is either front footage, some variation thereof, or you can do an area-wide special assessment too, which would capture, could capture interior lots. And make them pay their fair share. What is different here is in Sun Prairie, it applies to new development only, because presumably what you'd be talking about is working it into a development.
Yeah, because then that
Most of
way,
Manitowoc Road is built all the
Not-
way.
It's, no, it's not.
Yeah. it
Manitowoc,
is.
Manitowoc Road, from Woodland School to end, is not built
Well,
up
that
in the
little
south.
area, but I'm saying you'd have.
You
to
have
look on the road,
hundreds of lots that are gonna go in there. There
But
is-
you,
there
I'm
is a couple
saying,
hundred acres there
if
yet.
you do the whole road, what about the rest of the road? Who's gonna pay for
Well,
that?
the taxpayers end up having to pay for that.
and I think what we're saying is.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, what's there is.
okay, stop, time out,
Whatever,
guys,
whatever's over
time out,
there.
time out.
I won't be able to go back.
I think,
What about tabling this and staff will go back and have a conversation with Ellers and or Baker Tilly, because I'll be frank with you, I did not connect with them. And see if they've got, if they've done this before, and if they were able to, provide us an estimate and bring it back at the next board meeting.
That sounds good to me, because I don't wanna just say things are expensive, let's have facts, doing facts.
Sure.
And it's important that when you talk with them, only looking at the cost of the rural versus urban, so we should get that. You're also, and we analyze it, because Trustee Bartline does have a point. You're gonna be looking at in this case, if you're looking at Manitowoc between Woodland School and Ken, you're looking at the half, but you gotta take that urbanized cost, and you're only taking half. The half of the development that would go into all these calculations, so there's some work involved, no doubt. To make sure it's fair, but that's where you look at it, and so that helps offset what our taxpayers are gonna have to pay when we have to redo that road. The other reason why I believe an impact fee is the way to go here versus a special assessment is a special assessment is really hard to get the timing right. And a special assessment is something where you could come back, you come back and make left on 5 years later. And that feels really bad for someone, they've been in a house, that house may have changed hands 2 or 3 times. Stuff gets missed on real estate inquiries and that causes grief and everything. Versus an impact fee is charged at the time of a building permit, and we have 7 years to do the project. So we can map out here, okay, we're gonna, in the next 7, I think we all probably agree as a board, the next 7 years, we probably gotta do something with Manitowoc Road. And so you map out, we're doing this scheduled project, here's the half that applies, here's the amount we're gonna collect. Maybe as you do the numbers, again, we can apply multiplier to it. We might decide we're not gonna put 100% of the impact fee either. We're going to realize that there's some property taxes coming in and things too. But then we can make those educated decisions. And then that money goes in, we have the project and what we're doing.
If we table this and the staff is gonna look at this, I would like to see the comparison between doing an area-wide assessment and doing an impact fee, which may not hold up in court.
We don't know that.
We don't know that. That's why I said it may not hold up in court. That's exactly my point. You're putting all your eggs in an impact fee basket that we might have to pay all that money back.
Right, so just asking
But so that's what I'm asking too. I'm asking for staff to look at the impact fee possibility and also to look at the area-wide assessment. And we can look at both. We want all the data.
The special assessment is for
Well-
someone who's already lived there, they've never asked for all this development. And then all of a sudden now we're saying, oh, no, we're gonna special assessment. That's me.
But you're talking,
I agree with that. I do agree with that. People that have been there for
That's
years.
but you were just talking about land that doesn't have, that hasn't.
I'm
been
not in
developed.
favor of special assessment because property changes hands and things get missed in real estate transfer. If we're gonna do anything, it's gotta be at the time of the building permit. So, Chad, I know there's a lot on your plate, a lot going on, wanna be fair. Is August enough time if we table this till August? Is that fair? For sure. Then I'm gonna make a motion to table this till August for staff to get more information. And of course, you can bring it back sooner if you get it, but that way you're not pressured. You don't have to do this tomorrow.
It was just a discussion.
Yeah, it was just a discussion anyway. Right?
But Chad can still bring back more information.
Right, I'm tabling, we're not done with the discussion, so I'm tabling this. Early August meeting.
Right, is there a second to table? Is there a second? One, you guys want a second? Mike seconds it. All in favor to table, vote your ballot.
Okay, we really need some batteries or something here.
Yeah. All right, let the record show motions carried unanimously. All right. Updating the right-of-way permit to $1,500 for repair escrow. And this is in response to comments that were made at the last village board meeting about some third-party contractors not cleaning up their mess. Ted?
Yeah, exactly that. I think, Mark Benetti brought it up about. So when it was the ordinance and the ordinance. They under the culverts and the land and the way that. Calls for escrow deduction. So we do a similar escrow for meeting. So the staff is recommending implementing on all utility permits $1,500 escrow beside the permit fee where we would obtain that money until they satisfactory clean it up, and if they don't, then we would hire an outside contractor to go in and landscape to make it in charge against that escrow amount before we return it. So I think it's there, it's just we have to implement it as part of our policy, and then staff is in agreement with it because we struggle with this as well. And this would be one way of getting these folks But only one, I will say that this is gonna be by, usually by property. So if it's a TDS and they're doing 200 properties, they're gonna be paying $1,500 per property.
And that was my question. So this is per property.
Per property,
Yes.
because we issue a caveat.
With TDS, otherwise, the only way they just be like, oh, well, you may go fix it all, we're getting off cheap, so.
Yes.
But we need to make sure that how do we make sure that
We
is,
make a motion to approve this and we add it to the fee schedule.
I'm gonna make the motion to approve this on the condition, we make sure it's per property.
And I'm gonna second.
Any further discussion? Vote your ballot.
Sorry.
Oh, there we go. Let the record show the motion is carried unanimously. Okay, so we are up to penalty schedule. And
Incidentally, this is what I said yes to before, right?
yeah. No, that- I jumped the shark on it. I was just following through the packet. Okay, so the additional fees we have talked about are included in the fee schedule. So it includes the fee for the wind towers, it includes the fee for the escrow amount for the utility right away. You know, it's just those two, correct, Becky? Correct. Matt?
Thank you. Do we need to spell out in the fee schedule per property? Pretty, we can put clear so there's no confusion.
You guys, you make that as part of your motion.
Okay.
Well,
Then my other question is on the wind part here.
We can make that per property, you mean by 10%.
you know,
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Well, that part was fine, that part will get them. So then my other question on the wind energy system, with only $1,000 fee. Is there anything we can do there around number of towers or something that you had, you know, a very large project come in of 200 towers or something? I mean, they'd say $1,000.
I thought that was per tower.
So is that per tower or is that,
The new ordinance took out the per tower,
well, no, the new ordinance referred back to our fee schedule, so.
the dollar.
Right, so that's what my question is. And the fee schedule, we have the dollar amount that to charge. I want to make sure this is clear that if we can legally do per tower, I think this should also spell it out at $1,000 plus reasonable expenses per tower.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. When I read through this, I thought it was per tower.
We gotta make sure we're black and white here, so.
Yeah, because I agree with you on that. It should,
So I am going to make a motion.
hold on 1 second, they're still thinking. Because I think when you read the state statute on the wind towers, that the permitting is per tower, not per project. But we can,
I just think we need to come to clear. Words matter here.
yeah. But I agree with you. I think it should be by tower. Because you need someone to verify all the setbacks and everything.
That would be part of the cost that's being reimbursed.
But they're reimbursing their professionals on our staff time, so.
Well, they could reimburse it.
Yeah, we would include, I think because it's reimbursement plus, and time spent by village staff associated with reviewing.
I just
So
think if
that's
we can
already
help
reimbursed.
how you help very, you know, our residents, so this is the same thing we can help discourage.
That gets messy, reimbursing staff time at one rate.
Well, but you've got that in your ordinance here. I mean, you've got it written in here. When we had that $1,000 reimbursement associated with reviewing and staff time associated with reviewing. But I think what we're more concerned about, we want to make sure that these fees are per tax parcel and per wind tower.
That's not an application.
Yeah.
Is that something that needs to be brought back again? Or can we do it right now, or?
Why? You probably want it brought back again. Can't tell you every word that comes up on the memory.
So I would
Right, probably.
recommend that the board approves the utility fee because we have so many applications we need to get in the hopper and we need to get it. And let's come back with the bid and all this stuff. We don't have anybody, knocking on the door yet.
Well, we can always approve it and then change it next.
You can just approve the one item, the one amendment of the penalty schedule.
Because let me tell you this, we're gonna be coming back with modifications to the ordinance next to the next month because of the chapter 30 utility ordinance references all the fee and penalty, and we're in the final stretches of getting that done, so you're gonna be addressing that at the June meeting.
All right, then I'll make a motion to approve the one change to the fee and penalty schedule tonight, and that is the utility right of way repair escrow with also the addition that it says per tax person.
There's a second to the motion? I'll second. Second by Julie. Any questions, comments? All right, vote your ballot. Oh, Vicky got first ballot. Okay, vote your ballot.
Brian.
Gotta go to the gym.
There we go, okay.
Question for some direction here, though. You said per wind tower and per tax person.
No, the tax
Tax
parcels for the utility, two separate.
Two separate.
Yeah, two separate. So we're just looking at the wind tower. So if they're gonna put up 200 wind towers, then $1,000 would be every wind tower.
Understood.
Because it takes somebody to review the setbacks and all that other stuff.
Okay. I'm glad I asked the question. I don't understand how charge application for tax person and for wind tower.
All right, okay, so we're good on the fee schedule. ARPA funds. Okay, you have their wish list in the back here. We have some 200,000, 263,000, right? That we need to spend before the end of the year. And it's not listening. That's okay. I'm talking to you guys anyway. So what is your wish, guys? Is there a motion to approve the staff recommendations for the ARPA funds?
Make a motion, for staff recommendation on ARPA funds.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
My only question. Where are we storing hopefully additional public works items since we went over it out of state?
Lost it. You're chicken, and we'll get them in.
All right.
Any other questions or comments? All right, vote your ballot. Okay, now this means you guys can go out and buy that stuff. We've approved everything on this list, so you do not have to bring it back for any other recommend. Any other
Spend money tomorrow.
Yep, spend money. All right. All right, motion's carried unanimously. Okay. Then we have another discussion here. There was a discussion about splitting the clerk treasurer role. And Andy, you keep me honest on this one. My understanding is that the clerk treasurer role is a charter ordinance.
Yep. Part of the charter is.
Part of the church. So in order to change this,
Public hearing, right? That would be kind of name. We'd have to have a public hearing, right?
no, we don't, but the issue is you have to have a 2/3 majority vote, which means you need 5 votes, not 4. 5 votes to make a change to this position. Because it's a super majority, because it's a charter ordinance, and that's state statute, right, Andy?
Yeah.
So that's state statute, so. I don't have a problem having a discussion. One thing I would like to do, if we are serious about splitting these, I think we need. A new job description for the clerk. Because a lot of those, with the addition of Megan coming in as deputy clerk, a lot of those existing. Duties that are in the current clerk position have been kind of. Taken over by Megan. And we have no description for treasurer. And if we want to change that, I think we should go out and get new wage scales and job descriptions for those two positions. And then once we have those job descriptions and wage scales, then we can bring it back. Talk about if we really want to split the positions or not. Scott?
So that's, okay, that's doable, I guess. With the village as what is it, 1.3 billion assessed value, even though the state says that it's 1.7, right? So V, right? And to me, the clerk treasurer with a community with that size, I think maybe it's time to split up. We're not a 5,000 person farm. I think we need to start planning in order to get to where I believe we can function correctly and more efficiently. Is we need to have those separation of duties split off just because of the enormous work that goes into that. And also I don't know what else anybody else thinks, but I think other communities have a financial director. I think splitting that off and putting that under a financial director would, most other communities around here already have that. So I think it's time. I think it's time that we make that move and along with a separate treasurer, but also think about, you know, the organization and having a financial director. So.
And I agree with that also. I agree with that also, just because of the fact that we need you look at like Fox Crossing does this, Nina does this, they have a finance director run all of, you know, right now, we don't have a backup. We do not have an accounting backup in Harrison, and that is very scary. We need a finance director on staff as soon as possible, because we are so large right now, just from the money being handled and taxes being in it, we really need a finance director on staff. We really believe in where we're growing, just from a liability standpoint and segregation of duties. And I think it also would help out Vicky immensely. Vicky, when she ran for her position, it was listed as clerk. Her job was posted as clerk. She was hired as a clerk, and then she was told after that she was going to take on some treasurer duties also, and she was told that the accounting department will handle most of the treasury things. Well, you know, promises, you know, we can't go with it. The poor lady was hired as a clerk, grew over 100 million last year. She needs help immensely, and we really need a finance director, MBA or like a major in finance, CPA, you know, something person with experience to oversee all money. Just to as a backup, we have no backup right now, but also for our accounting department to report to and for her do all that work. So that would be my recommendation.
Chad, you had some comments?
So the comment that I would share with this is coming here, I was very surprised that there was no finance director position for a community this size. I think the community, the finance director can really kind of do a long-term financial plan and make sure that, you know, you're making hay now when you've got a lot of home construction, you've got a lot of new value coming in, and then making sure that you're lining up Harrison for future financially. And no offense to the village manager, no offense to the village clerk, they're doing what they can, but I think now is the time to make that transition and line this community up for the future.
So then I step back to my original comments that we need to get job descriptions. We need to hire a consultant to develop a job description. If we do want a financial director, we need a job description for that. We would need a new job description for the clerk. New pay scale.
Financial
And new
director
wage
have to
scales.
change the charter ordinance to add that to the work chart.
No, I don't think we would add that to the charter ordinance. It would be an additional position, just like we added Chad as an assistant village manager. They know.
The state statute says that we need a clerk or
And the treasurer.
Yes.
If I may, a lot of times the finance director is also the treasurer, or you'd have a clerk treasurer underneath, but the treasurer is only doing the filing, and the finance director is actually doing the finance planning. They're the ones that know about the TIDs or the TID. They know about borrowing, they know about, they would know the impact fees and what you can and can't.
So my understanding of state statute is the state statute lines out what the duties of the treasurer is, which is to prepare and to print out and mail out and collect the property taxes.
The clerk takes care of the front end of the taxes, the treasurer collects the taxes and verify. So the
So
clerk.
my point is, we
Treasurer
don't
says
need-
that there's money there.
the state statute already has the job description. Why do we need to hire her consultant to do
If you want,
what's in the state statute is the job description?
if you want,
Most municipalities where they have a finance director, the finance director position has a more broad
Finance director. but not
finance,
just-
right? And then as part of that, finance director also becomes a statutory treasurer.
Okay,
So you wind up with a broader description for the finance director position, which includes.
so we don't need two people, we could combine that and that's just one person.
Finance directors.
Yeah.
With
Why?
treasurer duties.
But state statute just minimally says you need a truck. So.
We're talking about them. I mean, I do have the state statutes for what those say in the packet.
So what we really need is a job description for if or once. A finance director slash. Okay,
well, and here again, okay, we're not in a position tonight to make that, I mean, what we should do is recommend to staff that they contract with someone to develop the job descriptions for the clerk and finance director slash treasurer, and then bring it back at a future meeting for us to discuss, but it also would have to require to bring additional, the updated new wage scales. Because a finance director is gonna be,
Cost you some money.
a lot of money, which, and I'm not saying that we don't need it. I'm not, yeah, I'm not saying I'm not arguing against it. I'm just saying in order to move this forward, you're gonna have to have the job descriptions and the wage scale. And then whatever we decide with has to be a 5 vote. It can't be 4-3. That's
I would, so I think that, given that a number of surrounding municipalities have recent, where they separated these duties, I think we can find examples of description that we can work without hiring a consultant. But I think that we may have hired consultants to talk to Carlson Bed who has done the village's wage report to see what the salary range should be for a position after we figure out what to do.
I
Well,
agree, and I would recommend you look at Fox County,
Yeah.
and I recommend you look at Grand Chute.
That's what he just said.
well,
It's really
And
patiently,
so-
really patiently.
Matt,
So. I don't believe that we should. Quote, kick the can down the curb here longer. There's a statutory time here. Change it because it's a charter ordinance. We have an employee who has asked for help. Who's been courageous enough to ask for help. Our village is 1.3 billion tax base from on we equalize I and 1.2 Trustee comments here. Okay, where are we having side conversations?
I'm listening.
So with that, it only makes sense to have the positions separated. Now, there's a process to separate this. There's a charter ordinance review. You've got to wait the statutory timeframes for the public to be able to object and all of that. So to me, we should be starting that process. And if we're not committed to this process, why would we have staff waste their time on doing other job descriptions and things like that? To me, this is multi-steps here. We started the process tonight, saying, yes, we want to separate these. So that we get the time frame going. That means we chat, so they can get a job description back. That gives them a go ahead, that they know we're serious about this. And they can bring job description back, there'll be a couple other approvals, we go through that.
I disagree. Because if you're gonna split the position tonight, Then you split the position, you have a clerk and no treasurer, nothing.
It takes you, when you can make it, and it doesn't happen until you fill a position.
I didn't see any time, any requirement for a public hearing. Just
Well, there is a 60-day waiting period.
Yeah.
You have to wait, and that allows the public to force a referendum for the petition.
And we still have someone doing treasurer duties and all that too, because the nice thing here too, if you're worried about that, President Blackmer. We're still covered there because we also have a deputy clerk, deputy treasurer, so they're still hired. You know, until we would actually. You could make this all contingent on until we hire somebody, if he's still going to have to do duties until.
I think you guys are really jumping the shark here again. First of all, you jump out that you want a financial director. We have no job description. That's nothing in, nothing in plan for it.
We just,
And you want to split. You want to split a position without any kind of a wage scale. And you don't.
He said we can go to Carlson Dental, who we've already used before. They should be able to get back to us relatively short order. I would.
Why,
And you're
why
not
the
gonna
big
see
rush? Why
wage
can't
be-
this wait until
Because she
June?
needs
when-
help,
Because she
and we
needs
got
help.
tax time,
Be-
like
be-
starting
be-
in
because
September.
we have an employee here.
That- It is June next month, and we gotta hire someone, and we have to have our budget put together by September. It would be nice if we can move a little bit, so we can get ready for budget time, but obviously you don't care. Because you
Stop it,
wanna
Scott.
bully us and then sit there and stop us from doing the people's will.
Point of order. Point of order.
No, you're the one that.
I'm not a bully. I am trying
We are trying to move forward.
with this.
It's on the agenda and we wanna move forward and you're holding the show up.
No, I am talking about. This is
Well,
supposed
we
to
can have
be,
further, we can have further discussion, but I'm making a motion. That we. Have a clerk role. And that we have a finance director / treasurer role. Created. With. With the understanding, and it's gonna be a condition of this motion, I don't know how we wanna word this, but. This takes place when staff has all the right pieces in place.
that
But we
makes
have to
sense.
give them, but we're giving them the authorization that we're going this direction. Why would you have to spend time if you're not looking to go this direction? And if we're not willing to go this. It's shameful. Because we have an employee. Even in the memo here, he says she's in favor of it, and she's asking for help. She's working an insane number of hours. It's not fair. It's not the right way to treat an employee.
and Chad is recommending.
And our own assistant.
Don't worry, you gotta let she come up. You gotta let her come up, she doesn't want to support. And she, at a $1.3 billion
Wow,
assessed value, yeah, Allison.
wow. And
You know,
I'm,
you're being held to the,
and
your
I'm the
face
bully.
gonna be held to the fire,
and
because
I'm
you
the
know what?
bully. Scott,
You
Scott,
are.
you're order.
You are.
Wow, Scott, wow.
May I interject a little bit?
Sure, and
We're
you're
not,
gonna
we're not
say
a charter ordinance to, you're acting. You need something. Written form that you're and published.
Yes.
Well, what we're asking for, and that's why there's more approval to come back here. This is step one. We're just authorizing staff to begin the work. Maybe I need to restate my motion.
yes, you need to restate your.
Restate my motion. Then, that I am making a motion to authorize staff. Start moving forward with splitting the clerk treasurer position. And to create a finance director / treasurer position.
Is there a
But they
second,
are-
is
they are
there a
authorized to-
second to the motion?
Wait a
Okay,
minute,
so,
I have a
That's
question.
clear.
Can you add that you get the job description for both
For clerk and.
clerk
or-
and,
yeah.
right, so you have. So everybody knows who does what
Yes.
instead of, I thought that was,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Well, that work would include, yes, that work would include a solid job description, so the clerk position going forward. As well as what the new finance director / treasurer position looks like.
Which
So
is-
this isn't even
And a wage
so this-
scale,
So this is an NOH scale as well.
yes.
which is exactly what I said when we
But what
started
I'm
this
saying here
discussion.
is we don't just, we still take, but I think the point where this got confusing. And where this isn't even a super, because when you were talking about a super majority required, authorized staff to move forward isn't even a super majority requirement. It's that this staff, we owe it to the staff to make sure we're giving them clear direction on what we as a board see as a priority and what they should be working on.
Not just. what
Okay,
they-
And so that is where
the
this
issue
is,
is,
letting them to start, we're telling as a board here, this has, that yes, staff, this is important, and we want you to work. There's lots of stuff that's gotta come back here now to put this in effect.
but that's
So-
different than what you were saying originally, what your motion is gonna be.
Yes.
Because you had said you were going to split it tonight. So the motion is to not split the position tonight. The motion is to direct staff to get the job descriptions and the new wage scales.
Well, what I would recommend is that we get the job description, we bring them back to the board, the board gets approval that you're in agreement with that, and then we'll take those to conference and then put a salary structure.
Yeah, and that's fine, but I'm just saying, the thing is, I think we need, one of the problems that we've had in this village is staff has not always known what true priorities are. We haven't given them, we haven't talked about vision, we haven't talked about mission. And staff needs to know they should work on something. Well, to me, that is, yes, you work on this and great, you have job descriptions for us to approve. As
So,
part of-
so the
as part of-
motion is,
As part of bringing back, just to be clear, part of bringing that back, there's three pieces that I would expect to see with it. And it doesn't have to be next month. Either.
We need to get moving.
Well, we're short of position right now. We have to, this is a high priority, but we also need to be respectful of the guys who want to do so much. So if it takes you 2 months to do this, that's fine. If you can do it next month, that's really great.
That's not board direction. You're telling him what to do. You can't do that. You just tell him what, we made a motion and then move on, right?
the
Now you're
motion,
diving into.
the motion is to direct staff to develop a job description for the clerk, a job description for a finance director / treasurer
With the wage scales.
With wage scales, right?
with wage scale.
In addition, to also bring back the charter ordinance change for us to also.
No, don't mix the two. Do
Why-
not
no,
mix
no,
the two.
No, bring it.
Do not
We are-
make it, you
if
can make
we are-
that a separate motion. You're,
Why,
you
bring
can make,
back that, why does it
can-
be a separate motion? Bring back.
don't put it all in one motion. Make it two separate motions, because it's cleaner.
Okay.
It's cleaner. So the first motion, and then Chad had a good point. Chad had a good point saying that he wants to bring the job descriptions back to the board for our approval before he spends the money to get the wage
Okay,
salary.
so with that, can you get the job description within a month?
Okay,
Then I'm gonna clean the motion up even better.
there isn't a motion. You're gonna do a new
I'm
one.
gonna do it in motion. Motion is for staff to bring back job descriptions for a clerk and job descriptions for finance director / treasurer role
Period,
for our next board meeting.
period. Is there a second to that motion? Any other discussion? All right, vote your ballot. Okay, and the motion's carried unanimously. Done. All right,
The other, I'm gonna make a second motion.
I think we need to get this done first before you start.
You asked him to make
Okay,
separate
all
motion.
right, make it.
Now,
I'm gonna make a second motion that staff brings back a draft charter ordinance change for us to bring active to split this up, so when we have to look into approving case that changes.
I'll second.
I have a question. for you,
Yeah,
though.
that didn't make sense.
I have a question for you, though.
That didn't make
If,
sense.
if you're gonna vote before you know what the wage scale is or
No,
anything?
she's just asking staff to hear the change, what it would look.
So what's the charter thing? Isn't that
So
voting?
Andy would have to probably look at changing the charter ordinance and propose the change.
Reviewed by Andy.
And then for us to review, and then
Okay.
before we would be able to implement it, we'd have to wait 60 days.
We have to vote 2/3, then you have to publish it, then you have to wait 60 days after publication, not after next meeting. And if no referendum is petitioned within that 60 days, then it would go into effect.
I mean, it's a long arduous process. We're just saying, just Andy, go ahead and make the proposed changes, right? I mean,
Well, but we don't know if we're gonna want.
Well, we have to, no matter where, we have to do this in the right order, respectfully, I agree with the right order. But there is no way we cannot do this. Our community of our size, no matter what the wages get, we have to find the money and do this.
We already
I'm
voted
not-
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we already voted on that.
So that's
So
why-
don't beat
so that-
that horse.
No, I'm not, but that's
That-
why I'm asking for the work, for the charter ordinance change to begin, so that we don't lose more calendar.
Okay, but you flip-flopped on yourself. I want to clarify that if they're gonna bring the charter, it'll be charter ordinance number 3, if I'm correct in the numbers, for our review, but I would recommend that we take no action at the next meeting until we verify the job descriptions and the wage scales.
Yes.
So I want that clarified, that bringing the charter ordinance to the June meeting is just so we can look at it, not take action.
And we wouldn't take action.
Well,
without
our
the
action
case.
might be that it looks great,
Right.
well. So.
Okay,
And the-
But
the
if they bring it forth and it looks fine, I mean, then what? We're gonna wait
so
another
we
month?
still have to wait for the wage scales.
But he's gonna have it for next month.
No, he's gonna have the job descriptions for next month.
Wage scales don't matter. With the position. Because again, this comes down to calendar, let's just map this out calendar time, I'm mapping this out for budget here.
We can take 90 days.
Next meeting, we have the job description. And if we're happy with the job description, he's gonna go get the wage scale.
Mhm.
That's gonna have to come back in July for us to approve. Then go post the jobs.
You know, guys,
Well,
we,
It's gonna
we,
take time, hold on.
we can actually schedule an extra meeting.
Well, we might need to.
And that would make more sense
Right.
than doubling up at the same meeting, that if we schedule an extra meeting, then it'll cleaner.
I don't want, again. It's not, there's nothing about being clear. To have a charter, authorize the charter ordinance work to begin. Is saving calendar time because we're already, you're looking at a month before it comes back. You're looking at having to post it for 60 days. So you're already talking, you're into August before you even start making this change. If we continue to wait till next month before we authorize the work to begin, now we're into September. Period of election time too, with fall election. That's what I'm concerned about. We have the fall election.
Yeah, we have to have our budget pretty much
Right,
going by.
so again. That's why I'm making the motion that we authorize the village attorney and staff. To bring back a ordinance to review. Me,
To review.
yes, to review.
All right.
What's that?
Scott, second that motion.
I expect.
I voted.
Vote your ballot. All right. All right, and we're ready to go into closed session?
Oh, I have future agenda.
All right, with your future agenda items.
Number one, solve our buttons. Need our buttons to be able to request to speak.
Okay.
Maybe that's not even an agenda item, but, you know.
I
Yes.
guess someone needs to second that.
Yeah, that's not an agenda item. That's just, that's not, that's,
We needed to, two people needed to.
yeah, no, he's just, what
So
else you got, Matt?
review the makeup of the plan commission.
To review the makeup of the planning commission.
Correct. Our membership, our rules on who's on the plan commission and how that all works.
Why?
Because I
You
want to
don't
review
need
it.
3 board members on a planning commission. You only need 1 board member. No other
You would
community
need
has 3
actually
people on there.
two because,
It states,
because a board member runs it, and if one's gone, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
that?
states
'Cause you're not gonna have enough. You
Yes.
would have to-
Well, we're not going to discuss it tonight. On the agenda.
all right, Andy, that's another one for you, Andy. Planning commission.
I also. All right, I got a couple things tonight. Again, it doesn't all have to happen next month, but I don't want these things to get lost. I'm bringing them forward. Security camera system for this village hall. The amount of things that come in and out of here, we got the police here, fact that we have no working cameras inside or outside of this building is a serious security risk.
That
Needs
wasn't
to
a
be
good thing to say online.
Well,
I'm just, you know. Sorry.
Sorry, yeah, that's something that could have been,
Just in case anybody
whatever,
wants.
whatever. Go ahead. What else you got, Matt?
the network heat closet as well. There'd be no reason why a hole can't be cut in the wall and have a vent or something there, if you look at it. But again, we gotta talk about it as a board, to get proper direction, that's one, give direction, so that's why agenda.
Are you done?
I'm looking at my notes, so I think I am.
Because we still have to go into closed session. Are you done? Can it wait?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right.
Nothing else.
Is there a motion to go into closed session?
But I have
Scott?
one thing, so when are we gonna get to the review the board rules and policies and how we run the meeting? Cause I wanna get that. I wanna get that for the next meeting.
We've got a little bit on the agenda for the next meeting.
Well, they have here, a tally through this last meeting. All the commentary you made after everyone's comments, and we got 9. Got 3 interruptions by you, and I wanna review our board rules that we're gonna have cleaner meetings, that you don't get to sit there and make a comment after we have to raise our hand, we get acknowledged, we have the floor. And then you say your spiel, and then yell at us, and then interrupt us, so I want that on the next.
I've been yelling at this meeting. Did I raise my voice?
Yeah, you did.
Did I raise my voice? Did I really raise my voice
It's
then?
not this meeting, you can, we'll look at the
Boy,
recording of the last meeting.
wow, all right,
And look at, the guy even acknowledged it.
wow.
We're gonna start having cleaner meeting. And we're gonna start doing decorum where if you don't like something, hey, guess what? We make a vote. You don't get to make snarky comments after everybody gets their chance to speak and belittle them and then have your little comments. I got it written down here 9 times. 9 times. Look at the video.
We're ready to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session.
There a second?
I'll second the next meeting.
Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Can you, you made the third motion and then.
All right. We'll take a 10-minute break.
Yeah, man.